This is Cheryl Todd with Gun Freedom Radio, and I am here in this crazy chat room, video chat room, with four really awesome friends, and we are going to be talking about what we're referring to as a unity project. And so that'll become more clear as we go on why we're calling it that. But I want to introduce our wonderful guests. We have Aaargo J. Wave at the camera, Aaargo. So Aaargo is just an American who likes guns and the culture surrounding them, and he is working on a documentary titled Black Ops, Black Opinion in Popular Society. Then we have Ken Scott. Wave at the camera.
What's up?
So there's Ken. He is the owner and founder of Provectus Group. It's a multidisciplinary defense firm specializing in consulting and training for law enforcement, military, corporate, and civilians. And I love his mission. His mission is that he can spread the good word so that others may stay alive, because that is God's gift to him. And safety is his gift to the rest of us. So thank you for being here, Scott. Next, we have Kevin Dixie, who, if I was cooler, I could just call KB, like the cool kids do. But I'm not cool enough yet, so wave at the camera, Kevin.
What's going on?
Very good. Kevin is the owner of No Other Choice Firearms Training and the founder of Aiming for the Truth. And Maj Toure.
What's up, y'all?
Hello. Mr. Black Guns Matter himself with his cigar, because this is in the evening. We are post 5 o'clock everywhere, so we are just enjoying. So he's the founder of Black Guns Matter, and I mentioned that that Aaargo has a project he's working on, and it is a video. And I think, Ken, are you the one with the background noise? Because you're
Maybe.
in a bar in the back. No, I don't know where you are, but you would not.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. I just want to see if we could control that noise at all. But if we can't, that's fine. We will head on through. So Aaargo is working on a video, a movie. And then our other gentlemen here have all just developed and launched their own firearm, their own specially designed firearm. And so Ken Scott has the Elite, Kevin Dixie has the Truth Firearm Series, because just one wasn't enough for a gun guy like Kevin. And of course, Maj has the head down solutionary rifle. And I want you guys to, I was really hoping that Danny could be here for this interview, and he couldn't because he's a workaholic. I mean, he's at work still, because he understands the equipment so much more than I do. And so you guys are going to need to really help me and our audience understand the differences between your guns and what's so special about each one, because I would never be able to do it justice the way that he could or you could. So welcome, everyone, to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And it got a lot quieter, so thank you so much, Ken, for whatever
He's in the bathroom
you
now.
did
He's in the
to
bathroom.
make that happen. So I think I want to kind of just start with the idea. See, a post that Kevin put up kind of got me thinking about all of this and thinking about bringing you all together. And so I'm going to start with a question to him, and then Maj Toure got me thinking about the fact that it's February, it's Black History Month. This is the perfect time to start this conversation about not only the different projects, but also the unity that exists in the men that you see on the screen here before you. But Kevin, why is it so important for people to understand that you each are doing something sort of similar but different, not only with the firearms, the video project, but working with your communities that you live around and you travel around the country? Why is it so important for people to understand that even though you could be competitors in certain ways, that instead you've decided to lift one another up?
Well, I know for me, it's multifaceted, but the first thing I will say is, part of what I think we all bring to the table is a sense of education. And I think that one of our duties is to educate gun people about how you actually should be working together. So we're going to lead by example. The other thing is, it's sad to say, but it is the truth, especially if we're talking casual and very open. Because of our melanin in our skin, because of our appearance, there's this Highlander mentality. There can only be one, right? And there can only be one, and that is the individual we are going to coin, whoever that is that somebody associates with. That's who we're going to coin the leader, the guider, if you will. Instead of respecting the fact that we're all leaders, we're all leaders, and we're all alphas. And how do we show people that it's not okay for you to even think there can only be one? Once you fix your mouth to say in a community that you believe should be diverse is diverse, once you fix your mouth to say the Black leader, then we got a problem, right? Because you aren't accepting the diversity. It's okay to say, hey, I'm glad to see more guys of color, more minority guys, more guys with perspective come in the gate. But I just wanted to be part of the conversation, rather, that says that not only are we going to show you that we should be respected as individuals and our abilities should be respected as individuals, we're going to show you how to form Voltron and do it the right way and still be able to go back out, have our impact on the people we impact daily, cross-pollinate with each other, love each other, show growth, show support, and show the gun community and every other community, this is what it looks like when you join together versus sitting back fighting for some imaginary market share that really doesn't even exist. And so I respect every single man on this screen. And one thing to be true, I can respect leaders and genuine people when I meet them. So I never want to compete. My whole thing is, well, if you're strong and I'm strong, what are we together, right? So that's just what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a part of that.
Oh, I love that. That was so well said. So Maj, I've seen on your social media feed people actually trying to bait you into throwing shade at different leaders in the community. And I don't know that I could say it was specifically other Black leaders, but you never take the bait. And I really admire that. And so can you kind of talk to us about, what is your experience as as the bait's coming at you and you're trying to help be the teacher in the situation?
One, it's just knowing that most of the guys in the gun community that's about their salt, most of the guys are older than me. One, if they're older than me and if they have more experience than me, they're better at it than me. The thing that I always say, individually, 3 to 5 yards, I'm pretty cool, like for myself. But the rumble that we in right now is not for myself. It's not for one person. So the biggest thing for me was showing that, okay, one, I see how they gonna flank. These guys have credentials. These guys have law enforcement backgrounds. These guys are, jobs and pillars in the gun community, right? There's certain things that they'll get attacked on that they kind of like, they squared away pretty much, like, to be perfectly honest. So much so that they almost can't say anything about certain things. Me coming in and not being attached to any of those things or those restrictions, because we have a shared commonality from a lot of the same places across the country, there's things that I can say and speak out and still show unity. For example, these guys deal with and train and work with high levels of law enforcement. In order for us to have conversations around certain sections of law enforcement not handling communities properly, I'm more free to say that. It's better to add that freedom to the mix as opposed to allowing people to bait us into, well, they the cops. Well, yeah, I know some good cops too. I know some good brothers too. And like that phrase that KD just said, cross-pollinate. I can tell dudes that's law enforcement background, like, nah, and I know those guys know it, but sometimes it's good to hear it from somebody that's not from the same, lane. That was one thing. The other thing is just, it's like hip hop is the only music that they always try to make it a competitive sport. We're going to push each other regardless, because if somebody does something great, you go, okay, that's good for that individual. That's going to be good for the collective. But you never see country music like battles. It's not like country music battles. You know what I'm saying? It's not like pop star battles. Now, those people will push each other for the Grammys and they'll support each other. They'll get on stage. They'll say, oh man, this is crazy. I won. There's so many great people in my category. But for some reason, urban things are made like to compete against each other, almost to the point of I have to demolish somebody. But most times, that's an outside external stimuli telling people from that demographic that that's what they have to do. And even in becoming more and more entrenched in the gun community, I saw it so much, not even just with brothers. You know, there's a phrase that it's like, oh, the gun community, we eat our own. And it was like, well, first, I'm not a gun guy. So let's remove that out of the equation. So now we snatch away that capability of someone to try to utilize that because I want to reach beginners. The beginners shouldn't stay with me. The beginners should link up, then go to KD, then go to Aaargo, then go to Ken, you know, all of those different things. I think what was happening was people didn't respect other people's lanes enough to not say or outright about saying that's not my lane. These people, these men and women are the experts. You just happen to like me. You'll like them too, and they'll be able to teach you far more stuff that could save your life. And I think that was the key that was missing, especially more specifically in the Black community in general, but also that translate. You take you with you. So that was translating in the gun culture and the gun community alone. And for me, it was just important to show you can say, I'm around high-level trainers and individuals, and I don't suffer from that insecurity bug, so I don't feel threatened in any way, shape, or form. There's no reason to be threatened by men that know what they're doing. You know, so that's what was mostly important for me in presenting it that way and never taking that bait. I could be mad. I'm mad at the NRA right now, highly mad, and I've been very critical of them. I blocked them on social media. It's like the millennial answer, like I'm gonna block you. You know what I'm saying?
You know you messed up when you got blocked.
Right. I had to throw them a
By
block.
Toure.
But the funny thing is, I can be mad at them, and I'm still going to defend them when they're right.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I can be mad at Aaargo because I haven't seen Aaargo in however long, and then poke fun at him as a brother on social media, like, yo, Aaargo, where you been at, man? What you don't fuck with me no more? What you don't mess with me no more? You know, that's the camaraderie that we need. There's a way to disagree with individual things and still keep that collective solid. And I think that was the most important thing that or the strength that I could bring to the table. Just because I know that these guys have certifications and attachments to things that I know that they want to say. And can't nobody take a certification from me. I ain't got none. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
That's very good. So Ken, did you have something to say? I didn't want to cut you off there.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, you can't hurt somebody with something they ain't got. You know what I mean? Like that's a very unique perspective on that for sure. I could definitely see that. And what he said was correct, dude.
But a lot of times when people don't have something, it's like he was saying, that insecurity. And I was just saying that insecurity is what drives the need to try to puff me up and shove you down. So,
right.
Well, you know, and a lot of times I think, Cheryl, a lot of it is just something that's perceived. When you're in the public's eye, like Maj is, like we are, and not even me so much, because like I said, like all of you said, I take breaks. I don't care. I'll shut social media down because it becomes consuming to the point where it bleeds into your real life. And I can't have that. I have to have a direct division between what's real for me and what's real about me. You know what I mean? Social media is what's real about me. My life is what's real for me. So I have to make sure that I keep those two things, you know, separate, and I keep them in check. Because once you lose that check, sometimes you lose your grasp on reality, and I don't want that to happen to me. But you know, I think for the most part, a lot of us, when I first started, there were no real Black spokespersons in the public side. The only person was Coleon Noir, and he had just started out at the time. And I kind of started out wanting to be a little bit different than he was. I mean, you had guys like the Reverend Ken Blanchard, of course, who is the godfather, but he still didn't have a mainstay at the table in the public side. you know, so he was still kind of, you know, there's a black guy over there somewhere, you know, we'll call on him when needed, you know, but right now there's, you know, there's nobody there. And there were a lot of people that said, hey, you know, why don't you go at Colion Noir? Come at him. Come at him for what? You know, why would I do that? I have no reason to do that, number one. In fact, I even credit him in my videos, in my intro video, saying that he was the reason that I jumped on social media or YouTube at the time, because he gave me inspiration, because I caught inspiration from him. And I said that there are voices that need to be heard, and why not have mine be one of them? So I think a lot of people confuse popularity and celebrity with actual activism and actual work. And a lot of time it gets all jumbled together. So people become envious and they try to pit us together, because to them, it's entertainment. For us, it's real, you know, and it's very real. And the benefits,
man, you got to think about how powerful this is. But then too, you got to think about how powerful this is, man. I mean, I don't know what the actual figure is of black people that are in the firearm industry in general, but I'd say it's 1% to 2%, man, 3%. Hell, just walk around SHOT Show, NRA.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen growth in the last few years, definitely.
It has,
you know, more and more. But you're right, Ken. The numbers are still not where they should be. And I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna say not even black people. I think the minority gun owner as a whole, you know what I mean, which encompasses, I think, people other than African Americans. I think it encompasses people who choose to have alternate lifestyles. I hate that word, alternate lifestyles. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? You know, it encompasses all of what America looks like. But for some reason, you know, that optic is something that scares a lot of people. You know, I don't want to see an armed gay guy. I don't want to see an armed black dude. You know, I don't want to see an armed Muslim American. You know what I mean? But there's nothing wrong with any of the three that I just said. There's absolutely nothing wrong with what I just said. But fear and ignorance have us locked in. And that's what we are trying. I think collectively, that's our goal. Even though we're going about it different ways, I think collectively the end result is what brings us together and joins us and keeps us collectively working together.
It's the change of the perspective. You know, what is your perception of, and I'm just talking specifically about, you know, people that are African American. When I first got into this, it was to start a company to teach people how to stay alive. Because of the color of my skin, you know, you have people of our color, of our ethnicity that, you know, naturally look up to you, not just for the instruction of the firearm, but hell, man, me and KD, all of us separately and together have had this conversation. They look to us for, you know, how to live how to live their lives in certain situations. And
absolutely,
so it's not that it kind of forced me to kind of get into advocacy or anything like that. I kind of feel that was honestly a calling that I was running from, because I didn't want to have nothing to do with any of it for whatever the reason was. But I think that, yes, here recently, since SHOT Show, I've been called or messaged or emailed by certain powerful individuals that represent companies and some of these companies are companies that I actually want to deal with or I currently deal with. And they're like, hey, you know, you dealing with such and such, you know, can you cut ties? Can you do whatever? And I'm like, nope. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care about what I could gain by dealing with whatever company. I know you dudes, right? And we're gonna stick together. You know, I think secretly, and we've all had this conversation, we all motivate one another. We're all better than each other. You got what, if that makes sense. And we all know that if we want to get somewhere, you need to surround yourself with people that are where you want to be. And I think that's the reason why all four of us have come together the way that we have. And each one of us has our own reasons for each individual, for each one of us, you know, why we mess with that particular individual. And it's not, I don't think that it's a relationship out of convenience or it's something where you would put them in that associate category. We understand what's at stake. we understand that, number one, all of us are genuine, right? Which I think is the most important part. And I think Maj called it when we were in, was we in St. Louis? And you called it, what'd you call it? Not the Avengers.
No,
What'd you
Justice
call it,
League.
Maj?
The
Huh?
Justice League.
The Justice League. That's what this needs to be. Let's change that name. But like, I mean, I truly believe in that. And it ain't just for Black folks. It's for everybody. Like, when you really, like, think back to Martin Luther King. He didn't just unite Black people. He wasn't just doing all that stuff for Black folks. He was doing that for everybody. And we have that opportunity to do that, whether it's through guns, whether it's through public speaking, whether it's just bringing folks together, whether it's training, whether it's making documentaries. We're kind of covering everything. I mean, to me, like, that title, the Justice League, is it. I mean, we cover every base, and every one of us are vastly intelligent and so turned on in a particular area. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. It's dope. I'm happy to be a part of it. But
You know what I was afraid of?
It's because of them, huh?
You know what I was afraid of?
So
I remember when, you know how you meet somebody that you like or you watched before, like a celebrity,
yep.
and then you like, oh, I shouldn't have met this dude. It's like, he's a horrible person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Steven
For me,
Seagal.
I was like, yo, I had this vision.
You ain't lying. That's how I felt when I met KD. Like, oh, raggedy.
Look, and so in my mind, I was like, yo, I kind of knew. I knew you was going to, Ken, I knew you was going to be down when you came to the Atlanta John, the first one. I was like, all right, Ken going to be down. I don't think at the first Atlanta John, I hadn't really linked up with KD yet. Aaargo, I knew Aaargo was going to be cool because we had chopped it up, and he put out a video about me in the Dunkin' Donuts thing. I was like, all right, he gets the humor, he da-da-da-da. So in my mind, I was already like, all right, him. And we've had, you know, individual, you know, relationships in that area. But what happened with Aaargo was one of the guys that is a crab in the barrel in Atlanta that had started this little smear campaign on me, had tried it. And I was about to play myself. I really was about to play myself. And Aaargo stepped in. And Aaargo said, nah, that's not, you know, that's not gonna happen. That's not going that way. At that moment, I was like, okay, this is bigger than just the opportunity or what the smear campaign is. And like Ken just said, I get calls from people, yo, you want to bang with this dude, yo, you don't want to da-da-da. And it's like, yeah, that's my man's. I rock with him. Well, for KD, for me, when I saw that he was doing a joint called Aiming for the Truth, and I was like, that makes sense. And for him to be able to put his ministry in it, all of these brothers I've seen have, you know, they have strong, and I'm isolated to Christian beliefs, just because that's the best word that fits. But I saw their beliefs that translated past beyond their particular religious choice, and I saw them do that in real time. You know what I'm saying? So for me, now and again, I've seen other instructors that happen to be Black, that happen to be African American, that happen to be Spanish, but they didn't have that same that Justice League mentality. Justice transcends all of that. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it was like, all right, absolutely. Then just so happens, okay, Ken got a gun coming out. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Then I started, hyping up 2 guns. Then I didn't even know KD joint was coming out. I deliberately kept mine.
Nobody knew.
Secretive.
It was dirty, sneaky, something or other.
Yes.
Ken knew.
Trust
Ken
him,
knew.
man. You can't trust. You just pop up in his house. He's like, oh, my bad. Did I tell you about this gun?
Right.
No.
Okay. We all got secrets.
Right. Right.
Don't keep
And
them.
so for me, that presentation was like, okay, this makes sense. Not only
Prototype.
Not only is this a Justice League, but the products. Oh, all right, you said it. Because I was hyped. I wanted to say it, but you said it so good. Not only do we have common themes and commonalities and a shared collective background, because let's keep it. If we keeping it all the way 100, if you're a Black man in America, you know certain vibes. There's certain things that you just know. It's just things that come with the culture. with that being the case, to have that and then have product, we go from the Justice League to at any given moment we can snap, and we the Infinity Gauntlet.
It's a good movie.
And with the snap of that finger, a lot of the hate, a lot of the crab in the barrel, a lot of that changes. Half of that foolishness disappears if we collectively work together. So, I mean, all of that, and I just want to pay homage to these brothers, man, because I know they get the calls. I know they get the, Maj ain't this person ain't this. Everybody gets those calls about everybody. That's what happens in business generally. It's a very cutthroat scenario. You know what I mean? But for them to, recognize that, these are my brothers. You know what I mean? What I want for myself, I want for my brother. That's something that's bigger than just a firearm.
Absolutely.
Well, I think individually we're unstoppable, but together, man, I don't know what to put it. I don't know what to insert.
It's the 96 Bulls.
I'm just not Cartwright. I'm just not afraid to be Cartwright.
Yeah, and I don't want to be Dennis Rodman either.
I could be Rodman.
I don't want nothing to do
I'm a little eccentric like that.
I'm good. I like my hair color.
I think going back to something that kind of everybody kind of capitulated. I think that there is a big, not only with us all being around at the same time. And I've been saying this for like 3 or 4 years now. Like no other time in history has there been so many well-articulated people that have commonalities that do it so different. Like if we miss this moment in history, we are going to regret it, right?
I agree.
The presence of social media and platforms. And if you look at each individual here speak, even the ones that aren't on the show right now, everybody is so great at being unique, right? And it's so egoless. And I think that if we step on these gifts and we don't amplify them correctly, we're going to miss out on a time of history that's bigger than any of us, right? And another thing, I think that with us coming in, present company and others that aren't here included, I believe what happens with that is, when I said about, somebody said something, I think Aaargo, you said it about it being entertainment versus real life.
Right. People view what we do on social media on the entertainment side because it entertains them, and they don't correlate that it's real life for us. And this is only a snapshot of a moment in time for us. It's not what our life is truly like. You know what I mean? They don't know the downs. They don't know the ugly of it. They don't know the beauty of it. They don't know the hard work that goes behind what people do.
And so the way that I found that I said this, I started saying this about 6 or 7 months ago. And I was getting this whole thing about, because you're a gun dude, they want to compare you to other gun guys in general. Doesn't matter what they look like. I want to compare you. And I told somebody, and I meant every word of it, and I mean it to this day. I said, look, and to kind of piggyback off what Aaargo said, there are influencers, there are social media influencers, and then there are influencers that happen to be on social media. Know the difference.
I stole that from you, just so you know.
I knew you a thief. I expected it. It's cool.
Stolen.
But I think everybody here, minus a camera, would still be doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, man.
So when you don't cut it, when you don't hit the power button for money, when you don't hit it just for gadgets and gadgets from companies, when you actually hit it with a mission and a purpose. Now, sure, it's some of the perks of the job, if you will, is being able to be around the cool stuff and, get behind the scenes information and get something. Yeah, I mean, that's a perk. But is it the purpose? And there's a difference between perks and purpose. And I believe a lot of people that have been doing it for the perks. We're here for a purpose, right? Yeah. And so when you were being driven by a mission that exists outside of social media, everything else is just a friendly additive. That's all it is. Guns are a carrot. Let me be very, very honest about it. When I dangle a gun out and put up a little video or something and show a gun, yeah, I like guns, don't get me wrong, but the gun is a carry because whether you love them or hate them, you are going to stop and see what I got to say, right? And then once I tell people all the time, you came for the guns and you stayed for the education. And I believe that's what makes this movement different. I just really do. And it's not hating on anybody else. It's not saying, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody here was a consumer of the content before you ever cut on the camera. I watched a whole bunch of gun dudes and still watch some of these. Learn from them and absorb from them all the time. I mean, it's nothing against anybody, but there is the way of doing things, and there is the new wave that is coming, and it's here. So deal with it. You'll be all right.
So I'm loving all of this, and I don't want to get too deep in before we get a chance to talk about the different projects that everybody's got going on. But I have to tell you, I was watching a documentary last night about the singer Sam Cooke. Well, all I ever knew was that Sam Cooke was a singer. He did, working on the Chain Gang and back in the early 60s, I suppose. And I loved his music and everything. But apparently, who knew? I didn't, that he was part of the civil rights movement at the time.
Mhm.
He was cut of the same cloth that you gentlemen were, because he was coming into this record business, and he started seeing, oh, wait a minute, people that do what I do are getting pennies but doing all the work. So I'm going to have my own record company and sign my own talent, pay them fairly and that sort of thing. And so that part was super interesting that I didn't know about. But there was this one tiny scene where they were showing that Sam Cooke and Muhammad Ali had become these pals, like the four of you, true friends, just cutting up with each other, just enjoying each other, just loving each other. And there was something they appeared on TV together. And whoever it was that they were interviewing at the time on this documentary said that that was unmeasurably powerful in, I think it was 1964, for all young children of color. And then they kind of projected in their mind that, young Michael Jackson and young Prince would have been watching this, and how much that may have impacted them to be able to see that unity.
Right.
And I just thought, man, that was such perfect timing that I happened to see that last night.
They can't. That's why it was important for me to not be a gun dude. I mean, I got Krav Maga books over there. I got weapons books from like ancient African and Arab weapons. That book cost me $200 at this book. You know how the guys with books come to gun shows and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I mean, I know a lot about weaponry, but that does not help the movement. For me to get in and just talk, every gun person, for the most part, we all pretty much follow kind of like a warrior samurai type code. Like that comes from whether you're in the street, whether whatever. If you're doing those things, there's certain disciplines that are going to develop other disciplines. What was missing was somebody saying, how can I get the people that know none of this to all of these other people? You know what I'm saying? And that's, like you said, when you see a scenario where you see younger people going, okay, this is an option for me. This is something that, even if it's just, I like guns. I remember one time I took my G17 apart and didn't know how to put it back together.
Yeah.
Now that creates a space where, okay, maybe that young person's a gunsmith and he or she doesn't know it yet. You know what I'm saying? Then you see all of these younger women, Trill Toya, Skip Tactical Solutions. You see, all of these Van Lethea. You see all of these women, and okay, now that creates another different wave. That's a Harriet Tubman, like Katie was saying. You know what I'm saying? So that visual, PR is perception and reality. Using those perceptions to create realities. And I think that is a huge, like to your point towards the Sam Cooke with Muhammad Ali thing, no different than we saw a collective of, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali, and these brothers sitting together and say, hey, we do these things individually, but collectively there's a bigger social or political, financial, all of those different whatever causes that we can form to create and be about and espouse those virtues of justice. So yeah, it's right in alignment with that.
Absolutely. And Jim Brown was one of their friends as well as Malcolm X. And so, people enter Malcolm X's life at one of the three huge junctures and lock on, this is who Malcolm X is, right?
Yeah.
But
They don't know the man.
oh, I like
They don't
it.
know the man.
What's that?
Oh, this shirt says, this is my ancestors paid the price, and I'm just the receipt.
Yeah.
And that explains your hat.
That's your shirt, bro?
Yeah.
You don't have my address?
Ah,
This dude, I ain't seen this cat in 7 months. First thing he says, give me
Yeah,
some.
Aaargo, you been out.
Hat on.
I have been out. With what?
Still love you though. We
What you
still
say?
love
Hey, Jay, I baited you on social media. I was like, oh yeah, Aaargo don't such. I was like, we gonna get him back outside. That ain't. I don't know what's happening, but we gonna get him back outside.
Yo, I told you, no, real speak. Sometimes you got to take breaks. Me, I'm that kind of person that kind of, I have to have everything in its place. You know what I mean? I do. And when they start to blend and bleed, it becomes problematic for me. And at times, like I got people on social media right now that when I just jump back on, I got beef that I have no idea how I got beef. Like what is
you know
this?
what you did. You know
Like,
what you did.
and Cheryl, if I knew when I tell you I don't do anything and I don't mess with anybody outside of my circle, like that's it. Like, so people have beef because of what Maj was talking about, because of what we were talking about, because of the perceived reality of what this is. And this is not that. You know what I mean? Like the caliber of men that you have on here, put it like this. All of these men are welcome in my home. In fact, one has even stayed in my home. You know what I mean? I don't invite people to my
It was
home.
me.
You know what I mean?
That's why all your DVDs missing now. Go
That's where
ahead.
they go.
Right. Every last one of them. All of them.
No.
Oh man.
Bye.
Except for the Wiz. I hide the Wiz whenever people come around. But anyway.
So Sam Cooke again, I don't know how he got featured so prominently in this, but it's so fresh in my mind that he was using his music to make a statement, but he was doing it in such a really under the radar way, according to this documentary, because of the times and because of the position that he was in, where he was under somebody's label and they wouldn't play him and so forth if he didn't do what they wanted him to do. And so the song I mentioned, Working on the Chain Gang, one of the people being interviewed said, so it's a snappy little catchy tune that was heard one way by a certain segment of the population, but a completely different way because of the Jim Crow laws, because of the early industrial prison complex at the time, all of that. Completely different, same song, heard different ways by different audiences, and his use of pop culture. And so leaning into your project, Aaargo, with your movie, so that's, people love to go see movies, and then, we're going to learn something while we're there.
You got to sneak that in. You got to sneak that in.
I would go for that,
yeah.
but
that's the zucchini spaghetti thing, you know what I mean? That's that whole zucchini spaghetti thing, you got to sneak in the veggies. But yeah, go ahead.
So tell us about your movie, and it has a great title, but a long title. I'm going to let you say it and explain it to us, please.
All right, well, the title is simply just, I have it on my shirt. It's Black Ops, the documentary. But Black Ops, of course, means something, and the meaning is Black opinion in popular society. And that, of course, kind of speaks volumes in and of itself. But what the movie does is going to showcase the fact that, how Black Americans are socially perceived and what the reality is. And we have to be able to demonstratively explain the differences, you know what I mean? And we have to make sure that everybody understands we're all the same, even though we're different. You look at, what lies under the umbrella of American, and there's no two people that are going to stand side by side that are going to be identical, even identical twins are, okay? So that same thought applies to us as American citizens, which applies to us as different races of American citizens. Although for a very long time, there was only thought that one race kind of categorically had the monopoly on firearms, and that's not true. That's not true. And that's why I started in the firearms industry, to show people that, hey, there are people that look like us out here doing this and that know what they're doing. And I think that it's time that the rest of America understands that we are not the threat. You see me walking down the street and you grab your purse, but guess what? I'm looking for that dude who's going to grab your purse. You know what I mean? So I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for him. Like, if he comes and while I'm there, hell, he's in trouble. But you know what I'm saying? So
I
I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy, and most of us aren't. And it's time that we squash the the division that's in the country
I'm
and
glad
bring
that
us
you
on
said
board.
that. I'm glad you said that, Jay. Like, at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing in my mind that I feel, that we're having to overcome. Because when you think about what's the stigma, what's the idea? When you think about a man of color owning a firearm is for the most part not a positive thing.
No.
It's something to do with a thug or something to do with somebody in the hood or something to do. There's some type of negative connotation. All right. So the thing is that I'm not that person that likes to point fingers. Right. So I look at it like, well, if that's the connotation, maybe that's what we've been portraying. It's our responsibility to portray something different. And I think that is all of our collective responsibility. It's not maybe, I know KD probably talks about it a bunch, but me personally, I don't talk about it a lot, but, secretly, that's my thing, where it's like, it's not that I'm here to change your mind or anything like that, but I just need you to understand that there are good people out here, good men out here that are of color, regardless of where their ethnicity lies. And there's a lot that you can learn from us. And that's not something, I think, subconsciously, when somebody hears that, they're going to think that that's directed towards white people. No, that's actually directed towards people of color as well.
Right, because we're our own worst critics.
Yes, yeah, man.
We're our own worst critics.
To be honest with you, I want people of color to see that more than I want people that are not of color to see. Because I want them to know that it's okay to stand up and say, yeah, I believe in firearms, or I believe in whatever it is,
Right.
But I believe in doing it the responsible way, and that's, dudes like Maj, that's what he does. Like, when I go to his events, and we've all seen it, we're sitting there, we're looking at a group of individuals as vastly people of color, and they have not been educated as far as firearms is concerned.
And we're talking about from diverse backgrounds. We're not talking about just one specific demographic. We're talking about all demographics that come to meet up and don't have the information.
And they have zero knowledge when it comes to firearms. Zero. So I think it's like, I don't know, man. To me, that's how I feel about it. That's what has been taught to me since I've been in this space. From people, the guys that you see that are also a part of this video, but fans and followers and supporters, and we all get these messages. We all get these messages from people, and they are in a very vulnerable way. And these are men, expressing how what we do affects and or has changed their life. Yeah. And we're normal dudes. Me, KD, Jay, Maj, we're just normal dudes. Collins, we normal dudes. And to I think what it's done for me is it's definitely put me in my place. I know it's done it for the other guys in this video. But for me, just speaking for myself, it's put me in my place where it's like, okay, like, make sure you keep your shit together, right? And you need to and step it up. You know what I mean? Like, there is no excuse. Those days where I really don't feel like doing nothing, I got to do something. You know what I mean? There's people depending on us. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all,
and I think, but to answer both questions at once, Cheryl, you went back to the movie, and Ken, you said something great. I think that we have to touch our own also, because a lot of us are so afraid to step out into this community. KD and I have covered that before with the whole rubber dummies incident, the whole rubber dummy situation. Mm-hmm. First of all, killed it, addressed it, and conquered it. You know what I mean? So that's there. But it's a reality. People are afraid because they don't know, and because it's not welcoming. The community is very harsh. The community is very open about being harsh and critical about letting people who are not or non-traditional come in. It's more so accepting of women now than I think anybody else. But otherwise, there's still a lot of push that has to be. We still have a lot of pushing to do, because we still have to push the minorities through. Like, why the NRA has not reached out and why they don't have a more diverse relationship with other communities. And specifically, I don't know yet, you know, because you would think if they stand for American rights that they're going to look like what America represents, you know, and not just have, you know, one spokesperson say, hey, this is the Black experience, because the Black experience, like I said in Chicago, is different for everybody. You have four gentlemen who have four different experiences on being on what being Black is, you know. So there's no one way to tell somebody what that experience is without a collective voice. All right. So it's because it's not going to be the same story. They're going to be the same things in the story, you know, but every word and every chapter is going to be different and placed differently. So we have to understand that with our differences are a lot of similarities, though. And those similarities are what we should probably focus on. And let's bring us together, focused on what we have in common as people, you know, whether it be Black people first and then outwards into the rest of America. But the ultimate goal is to make everybody want to feel comfortable and to work together. So, and that's the point of the movie. So,
wow.
In the long and short of things, my brothers and sisters.
You better preach.
Yes, you know, but no.
Moss, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We all kind of like bodybuilders. You know, when you're a gun guy, when you law enforcement, when you're a trainer, when you're a gun man, gun woman, you're in serious like school. It's like study. That's why I still always identify self as a beginner, because you got to kind of like go in a dungeon like bodybuilders, you know, used to do or still do. Even to this day, most bodybuilders, for the most part, don't talk about their training. There was a bodybuilder that chose to say, well, everybody else is not saying nothing about it. I'm going to say something about it. He took bodybuilding to a whole nother level, which is Arnold. Now, mind you, there's been men that have won more, you know, Mr. Olympias than Arnold, so forth and so on. But there's a reason why Arnold catapulted, like he been on a 40-year win streak, even though he became the governor and like kind of went anti-gun. The reason why I use him as an example is because while everybody else was just being quiet, Arnold was willing to step in front of a camera and say, well, this is what I do while I'm in this dungeon. You want to know how my calves are this big? You want to see me peel my shirt off? You want to see me do da-da-da and talk about it? Even though he had this super thick accent, you know, he still wound up becoming like one of the world's, he got famous for bodybuilding because he was willing to talk about it. He was willing to talk about the disciplines. He was willing to talk about some of the negatives. Then transitioned again and was like, you know what? Now I think I'm going to be the biggest movie star in the world, you know? And most of the time, you know, actors, they that's a craft, you know? And a lot of times they go in a dungeon. They work on their craft. They don't talk about it. They don't share. So he was like, well, I'm going to apply that same logic over here to acting. So not only did I become famous and rich for lifting weights, now I want to become rich and famous for showing off what I've done and explaining that via movies. Then I'm going to become, since I've developed this following, now I'm going to marry into like a royal family and become the governor of the 8th largest economy in the world. You know what I'm saying? Primarily because he was not afraid to, when everyone else was either afraid or thought they couldn't, or they were told, you're not supposed to talk about bodybuilding. The men that are here now are taking more of a position of saying, yes, you can. Like Ken said, yes, you can. Yeah, you can talk about it. You can talk about you like firearms. Yeah, you can talk about, you know, not knowing about as much as you'd like to know about firearms, to create that space, because there's more people thinking the exact same way because there's an interest for a thing, but not as many people have done the serious, rigorous study. And if we make it open for them to have that conversation by seeing us doing that, it'll start translating. It happens like you know, like everybody's saying, it happens tremendously. You get that DM with somebody like, man, I'm so glad you said that because I was thinking that, and I didn't think I was allowed to say that. You get those messages. I didn't even know if I could think that out loud. You know what I mean? And that translates, and it creates what's called like paradigm shifts. You know, it's like everybody's thinking it, but no one says it. One person says it. If you build it, they will come type vibe. And I think like KD said, if we don't seize that moment, having these historical, you know, experiences and historical figures in all walks of life, whether that's a Malcolm X that openly said, hey, this ain't cool, and we're gonna do something about it. If it's Harriet Tubman, if it's Aaargo J, if it's, you know, KD, there are men now and women saying to the top of their lungs, this is fine, this is good. And if we do not seize that opportunity, we could lose, man. Like, just because you got all these good intentions, you know what I'm saying? If you're not changing and shaping the narrative, the other side will, because there's a vested interest in making sure that disunity and that lack of power and freedom exists. There's money and power in that, you know? So like KD said, if we don't seize that opportunity now by respecting each other's individual lanes and leaning other people to other people's lanes. I remember that, you know, a lot of my morals for this come off the, you know, off the curb. So for example, I remember one time somebody had Blue Dream weed and I ain't had none. You know what I'm saying? And my man had all of the Blue Dream. And people were asking me like, yo, you got Blue Dream? And I knew who had the Blue Dream, but I knew if I told who had the Blue Dream, he's gonna make way more money off of that particular strain than I would. Still told. And to this day, he hit me up like, yo, you sent me so many people. I remember da-da-da-da. He was able to stay out of jail. He's working on getting a dispensary now, the lawful way, so he don't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? And so in doing this, if we plug people that, you know, have that passion or that drive, you know, we'll create job opportunities. We'll create a breakdown on that recidivism, brothers and sisters not going to jail. We literally are making the hood great, like literally, you know what I mean? And so I can't say it enough to like really commend these brothers, man, because I mean, I was like shot, like, man, I'm done. And, you know, brothers would just occasionally, somebody you shoot me a text, hey, what you doing? Hey, I'm doing this thing. You should come to it. You know what I mean? And vice versa. So, you know, like you said, it's not competition. It's motivation, you know?
Absolutely. So, jumping over to Kevin,
yeah,
keep talking about how important it is to be, you know, communicating, teaching, and I don't know if we've used the word healing the things in our lives that cause us to take the wrong paths. Each of you do that in different ways, right? But you have a six-spoke approach that is called aiming for the truth. So talk to us for a minute about that. And then before you're all done, be sure and tell us about your super cool, awesome guns.
Okay. So aiming for the truth. So essentially since I can remember, I've been running around doing various mentoring and give back and conversations with small groups or just a person here or a person there in different ways. And so what I decided to do is take my upbringing, which I'm very, very open about, because it's not even very unusual. It's unheard of for, you know, a tough gun dude to be open about things about molestation and mental illness. Guess what, man? We human. And miss me with that, you know, because it's part of life. It happens, unfortunately. So because of the things that I went through from being bossed around from foster care, being born to a 13-year-old mom, no dad, living in it, you know, and going through some of the abuses I went through, but making it out. What I owe back to society is to help and show them how. And so I took the experience I got when I was working with the St. Louis City PD, and, you know, that was my job. My job was to close the door on people. That was my job. My job was to send you away for 15 and 20. That's what I did. Like, so it's part of that was talking to individuals like, what got you here? You know, what got you to this point? You're 19. I won't see you for another 25 years. Why? You know, and really going through some of those conversations and having the unpopular talks. But what I noticed, even I was only maybe 23, 24 at the time myself. But what I noticed is, as I was talking to these young, tough guys and girls, as soon as I would hit a spot, they'd just break down. It's over. Like everything comes flooding out, right? And so I decided that, you know, although I am, you know, I'm a gun instructor, I don't even put up a ton of training videos. Because you know what? I don't have time to be arguing with people that never do stuff all the time online. And I said, what I'm gonna spend my time doing, you know, I'm not arguing with couch warriors. What I'm gonna spend my time doing is pouring back. I know I can run a gun. I know that. People that have been next to me that their lives are saved know I can run a gun. My family is walking around laughing upstairs because I can run a gun. So I don't have to prove that to anybody. But what is my biggest benefit? So I decided that, you know what? I'm tired of people blaming the gun. And it's more than just you. The problem is more than just you blaming a gun. You're being intellectually dishonest by doing it. And you're also creating an environment to tell people that it's an innate object that is the bane of their existence. You guys are too dumb to be around these things, right? So we need to take the attention off of those things and get to what is causing people to be violent, to kill violence at its roots, thus aiming for the truth. We're aiming for the truth around violence to kill it at its roots. So it's just meant to be a 90-minute seminar where we get together and we're going to address those things. So we'll start off talking about mental illness. The first thing I want to do is get the plate clean. So we got to prep the mind. So we'll talk about mental illness and how do I guide people into doing that. So I have subject matter experts for everything I talk about there. All right, but how do I prep the mind for that? Well, lead by example. So when I stand up, 6 foot, 255 pounds and start telling people how vulnerable and how hurt my mind was as a kid, they kind of get taken back. Like, are you showing vulnerability? Yeah. I'm going to be open with you. I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to show you how I conquered it too, because we don't wallow in pity, right? So it's helping them. And then once you get people understanding that anger, when you walking around the streets, talking about some, I wish somebody would, that's not natural. Something is going on with you, right? We think it's cool, coming from the environment, like, oh, you ain't no, there's something wrong with you. And we need to talk about that. And then after that, one thing that I'm really, really careful with dealing with, but I have to get into the fight is families. So I want to create an environment first that's going to suit the family to be better. So let's talk about jobs and employment opportunities. So again, with local employers, whether it be a blue collar job or employment center, and we want to talk about what not having employment does for you, because at the end of the day, we're animals. If an animal, sit your dog outside for a week and don't let him eat, see what happens. See what happens, right? When we get to the point to where you need to survive, you will do drastic things. But let's show you how to get employment, and let's show you the importance of education through employment, because a lot of people feel, and they are taught, and a lot of these things are taught in the community. They aren't taught outside of your normal spectrum, whatever your community is. They're taught that education is corny and it's not needed. And that if you come from certain environments, whether it be the hood or the trailer park, that education is not for you. So I openly stand up and tell people like, oh, y'all think I'm just a gun dude? And someone be like, oh, no, you a cool cat. You're a gun dude, though. I said, yeah, respect them 3 degrees on the wall, too. Whoa, because it's giving people a different outlook about what you can achieve. But after we help people understand their gainful employment, because I've had ample amount of guys, 35, 40 years old, that can't tie a tie. And it takes a lot of humility to come up and admit that, but they will. They can't tie a tie. So if you can't do that simple thing, how are you going to walk into a job interview? And if you can't tie a tie, how are your interviewing skills? What does your resume look like? Yeah. Right? So we have to backtrack and go through all those things. So we are helping people build all those skill sets up. I have done several resumes myself. You send me your resume and I will get it together, especially if you come out to the event. So let's get you that. And I've done mock interviews with people just to set them up for employment. Well, after we get you employment, particularly for the fathers, now it's been a trend of it getting into the women as well, but particularly for the fathers, I ran a program called All Pro Dad through the NFL. It was sponsored by Tony Dungy. And I did this program at a school for a couple of years. And what I was able to do through my communication and conversation was put 70 fathers back into the lives of their kids. All right. Wow. And what I've seen from doing that was that, me, Aaargo, Maj, Ken, we can get on a dude about being a deadbeat dad all we want. Nobody holds you more responsible than that child. I don't care what you try to do. And so what I noticed was I had a way of getting kids and parents to connect. And I knew that the child was the ultimate weapon, not the mom, not the cousin, the child. And so I've seen and I've worked with kids that cried to their fathers about just coming over. And I've seen dads break down and apologize. And I've seen that not only can I help fix this individual by helping him with his struggles and his mental illness and his employment, but we are fixing generations at one time, not just a person. We fix families, right? And so once you have the dad back involved in the child's life, now we have a conversation about, hey, let's not ruin that. So you know that little thing called conflict you seem to get into? Let's talk about how you manage that and what that is. You know, is what you built here worth you dying because you bumped the dude coming out the grocery store? Is it really worth that? Is it worth your ego and your pride to be into that? And how do you resolve conflict? And the biggest part about conflict is how do you swallow ego? How do you sit on that pride? And how do you really say, you know what? Okay, you're gonna be mad at yourself for the next 3 days. Like, man, I should have. Yeah. All that's gonna run through your head, right? Mm-hmm. But how do you actually deal with it and have an open conversation about that to get it out? And then we want to help people deal with their children's education. So now that I got you back into the child's life, how do you educate the child? Stop. One thing that annoys the heck out of me is when people say all we need is rec centers. You want to tick me off? Say that. Because what I take that is, oh, okay, put the monkeys in the cage and throw them a ball. Because that's all you saying to me. Keep them entertained. Don't build their minds. Don't develop intellect. They're natural athletes. Just let them go do that. No.
Pacify them.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Now, do rec centers have a history of having great men and leaders in them? So when they're boxing, they got a great boxing coach that kind of guy. Yes, all those things will exist. I give you that. I'm not saying those men and women aren't influences inside of there, but just saying throw up a building. And I've seen rec centers get thrown up. They pay people $8 an hour to work in there, and all they do is sit at the front counter. They're not mentoring nobody, right? So what I want to do is expose you to different educational opportunities for your child by bringing in tutors. I will bring in a school district. If there's a charter school district that has a focus on no cost but higher expectations of education, I'm going to introduce you to them. The last one, a couple of the ones we've had the school there, right? Mm-hmm. They're ready to enroll your kids. Mm-hmm. We'll bus them for free. I will, aiming for the troop, will pay for their uniforms to get them in there and get these kids into these better educational systems, and introducing kids that aren't from environments that have like the Boy Scouts to what that is, right? Let's get you off of Martin Luther King Avenue and Kings Highway, and let's put you in the woods. Let's get you some skills that you can then bring back and educate everybody else on. Like, hey guys, next time your electric get cut off, here's how we stay warm. You know, like all those different things. Like if we wanted to grow our own food, how do you do that? Get these kids into something that challenges and changes what their scope of life is. So I believe by doing all those things and having the resources there for people and being a conduit to the conversation myself, it gives them an environment to say, I'm ready to heal.
Yeah.
And if I can get you healed, then we talk about, you know, think about the equity that you have into your life. Think about putting half of the resources into the work and building that equity up into your life. I want you to close your eyes, because I make things very personal. Close your eyes and envision that. Give them a few seconds. I was like, now tell me that there is not a person walking God's green earth that wouldn't snatch that away from you in a heartbeat. Yeah, everybody's like, no, there's absolutely somebody that will do that to me. Okay, now let's talk about the insurance program to that equity. Now let's talk about how you defend that life you're working towards. Mm-hmm. That little insurance program is called the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to sell you a gun. All I'm doing is get you to see value in yourself, and you'll want to protect it. I don't have to convince you to pick up a firearm. My job is to help you get to a point where you realize there's value in your life, so you're not being violent, thus brings violence down, thus keep the people that I am training to defend their lives from shooting you, right? And you then get a chance to look and say, hey, you know what? I get it now. Because some dude on the internet smacking you upside the head, we know, with a gun, like, take this gun, America, freedom, beer, bacon. You know, that only does so much. But when you can connect somebody to why they should be close to that right, and what they're doing is defending themselves and the life they now value. Because look, you put a gun in the hands of somebody that doesn't value life, you're asking for a disaster. Period. Right? So we want to be able to make sure that the life is healed first. Then and only then will I give you that the knowledge of that insurance program to defend it. Because I know the Second Amendment, retailers, manufacturers, and everybody else is like, we need more people with guns in our hands. We want more gun owners. No, you want more people with self-value is what you want, because then they'll go after the guns. Right. That'll just be a positive byproduct. You want people with more self-value. And I'll stop after I say this. And that's why I challenge the Second Amendment community. I said, you know what? I'm going to take you guys into the part of the lives that you normally don't venture into. So the companies that I work with, they help sponsor Aiming for the Truth. You are seeing, because think about it like this. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. When something happens to Officer Timothy, right? And I don't want anything to happen to anybody. But when something happens to Officer Timothy, he's hurt in the line of duty by whatever means. The community that supports him runs to his aid. And I'm not saying we should stop that. Hell, do more of it. But we run to his aid. You see fundraisers. You see, I know I was part of a campaign alone that raised $165,000 in 2 weeks for injured officer. So I've been a part of it. So I know what we do and I know what can happen. What I've been telling the gun community is, hey, when little Johnny got shot walking to school, where were you? When he got hurt, where were you?
Right.
I'm not talking about somebody you suspect of being a banger or nothing like that. I'm talking about a kid, 17 years old, just going to school, that was a victim of violence, no different than the officer was a victim of violence. Where are you for him? And then you wonder why people don't connect with the Second Amendment community. Well, who are you? You guys only show up maybe every 2 years, but definitely every 4 years, trying to convince me that I should not vote for certain politics. Forget all that. Where are you when little Johnny got shot walking to school? You're nowhere around. But via Aiming for the Truth, you can have a constant presence and show people that you care about who they are as humans, even before you try to put some merchandise in their hands, and you give a dang about what's going on in their environments, whether it be the trailer park or it be the hood. But what the second community was failing at is having that relationship and doing themselves an injustice too. They do realize how much money we spend, right? It's an ungodly amount on frivolous things. We can take 10% of that and switch that over to the 2A community. What drought? What bankruptcies? Right? But all that to be said, that's what Aiming for the Truth is. First about instilling value and equity in their lives to reduce the amount of violence, because people aren't resorting to violence, and then showing them in a responsible manner how you protect that equity you have now invested. And byproducts is bringing the communities you normally don't see, those manufacturers that you normally don't see, because we'll tell you, hey, go out and buy a Glock, or go out and buy this, or go out and buy that, right? But then you'll be like, okay, you just go spend your consumer dollar. And what I'm telling people is we support those that support us.
Right.
If you aren't willing to show your butt up in these type of environments, if you aren't willing to help these kind of people, I'm not going to tell those people to buy your product.
Right. No.
Done deal. So I'll get off my horse, but that's what I want to say.
No, that's great. And let me come back to you about your new series of guns. But I just want to make a distinction. So, Maj, you work in the communities, but the program that you have is a little bit different than Kevin's. Can you kind of make the distinction between the two? Because they're both so important, and I don't think that it's ever either or. I think that both things could be great for each and every community.
Yeah, I think what happens with ours is it's similar in the regard of if I can't tell you how to fight and what you're fighting for, I could, like you said, I could point you. You don't need me to find a range. You don't need me to find a lawyer. Same thing, but I can put those in the area that you're going to come to. For me, I use an approach of a bottom barrel approach of people that have, like you said, you have zero information, but you do have this curiosity. I think that once you're inculcated in it, and again, we working in like cells floating around the country. For us, it's, you have to understand that you have the ability and the right to defend your life, right? And the practice of going to the range, learning, shaking off some of that initial nervousness, we the entry level. What Katie's talking about is a person that is either, some of the people don't even recognize that they have a trauma, but they still have a curiosity. Whichever way you going with it, I'm going to go, oh, this person right here recognizes their trauma. Yo, what part of the country you in? Bam. You know what I'm saying? And then it'll be, oh, you in St. Louis? Okay, you in Missouri? Yo, you ever heard of, no other choice training? You ever heard of Aiming for the Truth? We work as a conduit to put people, I can just identify where people are on their scale. But for the most part, by and large, we get people that have had absolutely no experience. They have a passion, but they are in no way, shape, or form identified with what the Second Amendment even is.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a difference there, but it's still an assembly line. It has to be assembly line. You cannot build anything without step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But all of those steps are very, very important to the end result, the end of the product. The product is well-rounded, politically active, socially aware citizens. You know, and with the specific of in demographics that are tremendously anti-gun. The neighborhood is tremendously anti-gun. You know what I'm saying? And like Katie said, the reason why that's anti-gun is because if a person's getting up to the point of a gun, most instructors will say that same thing. They'll go, yo, I don't know if you don't even know how to clear a firearm. I'm not any RSO. I'm paying super attention to you. But if I know that you know, I know that you're safe, I know that your mentality's in the right place, we have to identify that first. We're not talking about guns off top. Oh, yeah, you got a gun. That's great. Everything's going to be cool now. No, it's not. Like Katie said, it might have an adverse effect if you're not recognizing where those people are on that assembly line yet and where to place them, and then you just hand them the gun. That's one of the reasons why we started linking up with Bursa. Bursa, when I found out, that was the company that Shaneen Allen, a young lady from Philly that had the license to carry, drove over to Jersey, rumbled. Now, on one hand, as the gun company, you could say, well, it's not our responsibility. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And they will be in the clear, no doubt. What Bursa did was they stayed with Shaneen Allen through that entire process, the president of the company. An inexpensive firearm that mom had to protect her life got caught up in a scenario, that company stayed with her. Now, I'm not saying any other companies wouldn't have done that, but I see one that did. Yeah. That speaks more volumes as opposed to just, well, you bought our products, we move on. You know, like Katie said, that there needs to be that paradigm shift in regards to, we are a community. We're going to get the money, no doubt. The money going to come. But the money usually in anything you're selling, the money come last. You know what I'm saying? But when you build that responsible citizen and you change that culture in that area that has historically been anti-gun, anti-freedom, you get the value for that is so much long-term and further reaching. You know, so that's a little bit of a difference with Black Guns Matter. We primarily go where the homicides at, and we deliberately go to, you know, we bang with a lot of felons. We bang with a lot of dudes that's like, yo, I can't lawfully possess firearms, and I know that you're still gonna have a firearm. I know that. That's just, and I'm not judging you for that. Right. I'm just saying, okay, you're gonna have them, but because you know you a felon, I want you at least to know how to secure that firearm properly at the bare minimum. Because you got a 15-year-old that's around the house. You know what I'm saying? And you can, and that son is gonna, you know, pay attention to you. And there's, you know, we bring in guys that have done state and fed time, you know, and to strengthen that and change that narrative a bit, you know. And but we would be remiss if we just kept them in that one phase.
Right.
To do that doesn't create community, and you know that's a bit of a distinction, but not in the sense of these aren't separate and conceptually. You know what I mean? It's just we picking them up where they at and placing them where they need to be, and that where they need to be. Okay, you're beyond me, you know. And then some guys they have this passion for firearms, and they might follow me on the gram, right? And they'll run into me like, yo, you reposted this dude named Buck Doyle. And I'm like, easy, bro. You're not ready for a Buck Doyle course right about now. You know what I'm saying? But that speaks to their passion, and we get them to the step in between. You know what I'm saying? But it's all key. It all has to be done as a holistic approach. If it's not, you are doing nothing but putting that Band-Aid on a severely emotionally bleeding, you know, or traumatized individual, you know. So you just got to find out where they at, starting from the beginning, and recognize that, you know, you have to have a community of people that can service that community of people.
Yeah, no, I love that. So my husband and I, Dan, we own AZ Firearms. It's a small gun shop in Avondale, Arizona. And we are going to just be shameless and shout out to the world that we are the first gun shop in the nation that is going to carry all of the Unity guns, right? I mean, they all have their own individual names, but we're, you know, this Unity project, this Unity conversation we're having here. And so I want to talk about those guns. And I saw Aaargo kind of peek one up at us. So that was one I was previously unaware of, but
oh yeah,
we'll have to be talking about that. Is that going to be debuted sometime in 2019 or?
oh definitely, it'll be soon. I've been actually, I've got 3 of them, and they're the same gun that I keep building over and over in different lengths. But the fact that I like them and that people that shoot them like them, and then I had a conversation with somebody the other day, shout out to Maj, that made me like go ahead and push everything finally through. Like I had been working on it for a long time, just to do it anyway.
Long time.
Yeah, long time. Right. Matter of fact, you shot the guns. Ken has shot the guns. So
long
right.
time.
So
long time.
And people that, matter of fact, Ken took my rifle to a class, and the person didn't want to use any other rifle but mine. I think there's some ridiculousness. Yep. But you know, it was just, it's put together by a bunch of companies that I value because they value the science behind the product versus me pushing out product just because it's cool. You know what I mean? So when people get the gun in their hands, it's going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm not going to go ahead and speak about that just yet because my gun is not here yet. My gun's still in the oven. So I'm not going to take shine away. Oh, and with that, there is going to be a handgun in an accompaniment to the rifle, but we'll talk about that at the time too. So yeah.
Holla at me, Jay.
Yeah, matter of fact, I kind of went behind your back. Don't be mad, but we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it.
See, this is why I'm gonna be sharing contact info because of crap like this.
No, not that. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. Like I said, we'll talk.
You know what's beautiful, and that's what I'm saying. Like, because it's like contact info, and that's another key. It's like for me, it was like I'll annoy these dudes and be like, "Hey, man, what you doing?" And I'm like, "Yo, this is working for me. You better do this too." Yeah. I don't have any of that. If I was more like a gun dude, I believe that it's like I know you use all these analogies and examples. There's only been a handful of basketball players that didn't go to college and then like went straight to the NBA. They don't even allow it anymore. Those players were usually phenomenal in high school. The basketball coach wouldn't tell them they couldn't play point guard, they couldn't play 2 guard, they couldn't play 3 guard, center. In high school, they're probably, even if they're only 6'6", they're probably taller than all of the other players. Well, if they go to college, that college coach says, you are a shooting guard, you are a power forward. It cements them into one thing, right? Because I haven't been cemented into a thing, I'm not restricted by the thing, so I can just go, oh, I'm a point guard. And I go, okay, I'm going to find out where I can dish. When you go into the gun community and the gun business, a lot of times it forces you, it's like a politician. You come out through the meat grinder a little bit different than when you went in. The skill set that we all needed was somebody to go, I don't care about the connect. Because I don't care. If this all falls, I could do this. But I know that person is further along and that person needs to know this person. And y'all, what's up? Y'all make magic happen. Put the number together, y'all, boom, y'all go from there. That's how we get the win. Point guards, I don't care if I score. I want the win. I want the assists. I want the championship. I want the ring. We are past the point, politically. I posted something today talking about there was over 1,700 civilian forfeitures or seizures of firearms in 2018. 1,700 people had their firearms taken by the government. We can lose this fight if we don't have a point guard that can see the whole floor. I do not care about scoring myself. If I get 0 points, right? A LeBron or a such and such we get the chip. We get the win. If we get the win, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna get the champagne. I'm still gonna get the cigar. I'm still gonna be on the jet. You get what I'm saying? And so we individually get those rings. And I think that was a big key. And I think that was something that all of us in our right, we tend to we know our specialized lane, and that specialized lane, we need people to give those assists in those lanes. So plugging guys with guys, and women with women, and women with guys, and guys with women is something that that we're gonna do to get the victory. Because if we don't, man, the other side, man, they got point guards and they dish.
And you know what's funny? You know, and Maj, you brought up a good point, and I hate to just jack your thing, but that's the thing. Like this quartet of gentlemen, I have never seen be selfish with anything. You know that contact information is like gold in our community, and if you know, because you know we're not talking about, oh, do you know so and so, but we're talking about, do you know Mr. Bob Dabalina, president of XYZ Firearms, or you know what I mean, like or the CEO. We're talking about, you know, all of us running those circles, and none of us have ever been like, you know what, Paul, like, you know, it's never happened. It's never happened. You know, any connect that I have, Maj has, KD has, Ken has. As a matter of fact, nobody can say that any of us have been selfish with each other. You know, we can't do that.
Nah.
And that's not something that's common, you know, amongst, I mean, hell, I remember when I first showed Ken Apex triggers, and now Apex are, you know, in all his guns. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's that's what it is. But let me say this also, because I did have, like I said, I went through a major awakening. As I sit here and listen to this quartet, I hear answers to problems. I hear people ask for answers and solutions to problems. So why are they not listening to the solutions being given? Is it the package that the solution is coming from? Could that be it? And if it is in the packaging, how do we break that? You know, how do we break that barrier? Because that's why we're all doing what we're doing. You know, that's why we need to say, hey, yeah, my voice is this, and I'm a black man in America speaking it, but that does not change the words that are coming out. That does not change the truth in the words that are coming out.
I believe,
you know,
I have a very aggressive and watching for the last 3 years or so, I have a belief that that is exactly why. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say it, okay, ain't nobody gonna check me. The reality is, I believe that there is an attempt. I think there is still an element of race in it. I think the vast majority isn't that. I think that there's an element of control. I believe that there's an element of, and that's why we have to link up. Because if I can compartmentalize and separate you, I can cool you off. You ain't hot no more. You know what I'm saying? And then I can control your narrative. I think for us to get the win collectively, it has to be, you know, it got to be that fist. Because there's absolutely no way. Listen, again, I blocked the NRA. I'm going to be down there, you know, I'm going to holler at them, and we see how it go, because they're the largest. But at the end of some of the, not even for saying like they did a gang of negative stuff, I get on them for what they are not highlighting. Why are you not highlighting the fact that you helped Otis McDonald damn near every week? Why are you not talking about the fact that you helped Shanine Allen? Why are you talking? Is that because some of your rank and file got that bigoted mindset? And if that's the case, all money ain't good money. You got to let some of that money go to open it up for a new market, a new demographic that doesn't have that same biased mindset. And that's just what it is. So if you have, and I could even see if it was me, well, Maj ain't a gun guy. Okay, you don't want to hear it from me. But if there's several gentlemen saying the same thing about these are the holistic answers that we've already applied in our own right in our own communities across the country, you all have us on your TV shows. Why exactly are you not implementing that problem, implementing that answer? No different than, and I'm going to be a little bit, Andrew Gottlieb might be still a little bit mad at me. I was going through a lot at the time. But when we did that panel at the Second Amendment Foundation, and I said, you got all of the black people on one panel. That is not inclusion. That is not diversity. That is putting that is separating.
That's showcasing
all of the black people on one panel. The next year, they did the same thing. And I'm like, yo, you're not learning from that. You're not learning. That's not the reason why I didn't come. At the same time, it's like, yo, there was a big answer right there. NRA, why is there no hip hop or pop acts at the damn NRA annual meetings? Culturally,
everything is country, always.
It's always country. And I like a good country song. I can't do a whole 3 hours of that though, bro. Like that's not, you gotta throw some, I mean, y'all got the bread. I bet you get Will Smith in there doing one song. That's gonna change the. You know what I mean? You're gonna get some added,
Jiggy with it,
added in
baby.
it.
Right, but you know where that problem lies. Like, what performer can we get? Number one, that's going to cater to the small market of Black people that are going to be there, and two, one that we agree with and that agrees with us. Yeah, they're going to fish that nonsense crazy. Like, that's and my beef with the NRA is the same as yours, Maj. Like I'm still a member of the NRA, still a card-carrying member of the NRA. I'm not going to renew once my membership is up if I don't see results, though. But it's the largest platform out there.
Yeah.
So I can't fight it. So I have to be a part of it in order to change it. You know what I mean? In order to try to affect change. Right?
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to say, I'm not going to deal with the NRA. That's stupid. Then you're not going to change anything. You have to be a part of something in order to change it. I don't care how small the cog is. If that cog breaks, that machine is not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work properly. So we're going to need to make sure that all of us are a part of this thing that we love. And one of the things that I love that came out of the conference in Chicago, the MCON conference, was the fact that those two ladies spoke their mind, right? And that's been on my head since then. And I think moving forward, that's more of the inclusive approach that I'm going to take, because I am fairly right-sided, minded in all my actions and doings. That's just me. Okay, there are people that look like me that are not as far right as I am, and that's fine. Should they be excluded from it? No, not at all. Because, like my man Tony says, 2A is for everyone. Okay, the Second Amendment is for everyone. So it is our job to make everyone feel comfortable with this. It is our job that shows people that it is okay to love what we love. I love guns, okay? I'm not psycho because I'm psycho for other reasons, but I'm not a psycho because I love guns. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's okay to love something, all right? It is, it absolutely is. But let's love it and let's respect it properly, okay? And I think the key word is respect, all right? If you don't have a respect for anything, you're gonna lose it or it's gonna hurt you, one of the two. I don't care what it is, all right? And that could be detrimental in our world. So we need to, that's why programs like KD's and Maj's are so important, because they touch on the root of the problem that we all know is there, okay? Everybody's saying, what are the answers? What are the answers? The same universal background check shit comes up every time. The same nonsense comes up year after year after year, the same anti-gun rhetoric verbatim. You know what's coming. You know what they're going to say. It doesn't work. We've tried it. We've seen it. We're not saying, you're stupid. You're just wrong. Okay? What about this? No, we don't want to hear that. Well, what about KD's program? No, we don't want to hear that. What about Maj by showing people that, don't have the education? Let's make people more safe, more aware. Oh, no, we can't have that either. We're arming the monkeys. You know what I mean? So now, it's crazy that everybody wants us to do well, but nobody wants us to do well in the fact that they support us financially to help these movements get a bigger voice. So,
you know what's crazy about that? It's two things I want to touch on. What's crazy about that immediate statement is this. I say it because it's the absolute truth. Now, you can pluck the word out that I'm about to say, and you can fill it in with a lot of other words. But if you think about the approach, because I tell people all the time, you have to be methodical. When you have opposition, it's not about just yelling at their talking points. You have to really sit and absorb exactly what they're doing and how they're calculating and how they move and their resources, and think about what their backup plans are. And you need a plan, 2 or 3 plans for every one plan that they have. And it really takes a lot of thought processes to go into that. And when I tell people, when you look at the 2 largest current existing, the 2 largest, forget their subsets, largest anti-gun organizations, you're looking at Moms and you're looking at Everytown, right? Both started within hours of 2 tragedies, right? Now, those incidents, as tragic as they are, and I'm not taking anything away from it, I like to tell people this. You notice that never starts. We lose that amount of people every week or 2, period, right? But there's no big organized agenda like that. And the reason being, when you take, I think it was Dana Lash that said, there's it's something, I'm paraphrasing, but she said there's no media goal like the tears of white mothers or something along those lines, right? And she's correct, but there's only one thing that shuts that up, and that's when I talk. That's when they talk. The black voice will shut up white tears every single day of the week, right? And so when I tell people that I am gun control's worst nightmare because I am the inconvenient black truth, that is a fact. That is not just playing on words. That is a fact because of their approach. So when you have somebody that can go say, oh, now everybody suffered. That's why I said you can pluck out black, you can put in Native American, you can pluck that out Jewish American, and you can just keep going down the gauntlet, right? But the ones that are highlighted the most, that is always talked about, people like to talk about black and white, even though we have all these other subsets of people that have suffered. So that being the case, you talk about Parkland, I want to talk about Black Wall Street. You talk about Sandy Hook, I want to talk about Rosewood. You start talking about something that happened in Texas, I want to talk about what happened in Philly in 1985. Like, we can just keep going. So I'm going to educate you to the point off of your emotional stance that you are building all of your platforms off of, to a point that you cannot combat me. There's nothing you can say to me to make sense. You want me to feel sorry for you and your community, but when it happens to me and mine, you have nothing. As a matter of fact, you were actually commissioned to wipe what happened to me out of the history books. We will let what happened in your community live on forever and ever and ever. We did a march for you. We hid mine, right? So no, hit me with that. And then when it comes down to the gun community accepting education, now look, I get it. Especially, I'll talk about myself in particular. I'm a passionate dude. Like, I don't do nothing. I don't put my effort and energy into nothing that I'm not passionate about. Because when I'm not passionate about it, you don't hear me talk about it. Like, what I'm talking about it for. It's not a big deal. That's why I'm talking about politics. I'm not passionate about politics. That being said, when it comes to educating people, it's a little bit deeper than just looking at skin tone. Actually, it's a lot deeper. Skin tone is just one very small element of it. I've been looking around the gun community, and I was like, you know what? And I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel can vouch for this. How many messages, whether it be via text, DMs, whatever, conversations, have you gotten from people of all backgrounds? Hey man, how do I do this? How do I do that? Hey, how do I start this? Or how do I do this? Right? Asking for and these are people that have small channels, that have, you know, maybe they're a gun review guy, maybe they just want to be an advocate. Maybe they got something going on dealing with freedom, and they have no idea how to get the information out. So they look at us like, how you do that? You know, how you do that? And one thing I noticed was like, you know, one thing that everybody's missing? Over here, when they want to do a march, they are flying people in from around the country, organizing folks, blah, 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 getting them all hyped and getting them all together, educating them, giving them talking points, giving them backgrounds, and strategically placing them in places. You know what we do with ours? We got hundreds of them asking, how do I get better? Because they're still a part of us. They're still a part of the 2A. I don't care if you're a white woman, a white dude, a black girl, I don't care. You are still a part of us. So that being said, when we got hundreds of our own people asking, how do I do this better? You know what our response has been? And gun community gets real mad when I say it, but I don't care. It's been, well, if you ain't one of the cool kids, you can't come to our little special shooting party, right? If you ain't one of the cool kids, you can't come to so-and-so shoot. If you ain't one of the cool, so what I did was I decided to put on a NOC Train and Learn industry event right here in Missouri. You come here, I'm having speakers telling you about how to get sponsorships, how to manage your brand, how to market yourself, how to build yourself up, how to do better videos. Ken is coming to instruct with me, gonna teach you how to shoot. Why? Not because I just want you to be a cool shooting person. I need for when you put up content, the content is pure and it's factual and it's right. I want you to be way bigger than I can ever be. I want to get you that background, that information, education. I want to show you how you have partnerships with companies, not just somebody sending you a box of stuff. Like, how do you actually take that and turn that seed into fruit for the community, for our voices unanimously can get louder and stronger, because we are losing. So not only do we help heal the communities and get them involved in it, on the other end of the spectrum, for the people that are already involved in it, how can we educate them to be better? One thing that I'm kind of sad to say, but nope, I'm gonna take pride in it. It took us to come in and say that that's a weak spot, right? But what we're gonna do, and everybody's invited. I don't care if you, and I don't care if you have 1 follower or 1 million, because nothing ticked me off worse than I found out there are these little shooting events that you have to have X amount of followers to even be invited to. And they're not even educating you. They're just letting you come shoot guns with cool kids. Right? I'm like, man,
you can buy followers, so you know,
exactly.
Who cares?
You know, exactly. So putting on that event is going to give back to people and show them. And then we're setting up the whole thing I say about the whole point guard situation. That analogy is perfect. On the last day of the event, for 4 to 5 hours, it's all collaboration. I don't want to see nobody standing nowhere by themselves. You go work with so-and-so, you go work with so-and-so, and you guys have all that communication and conversation and get all that content that we've educated you the last 48 hours how to make better. So now you get to put that information to use. And you go out and you be stronger, because I need your 200 to 300 voices to be placed around this country strategically for you can be stronger, because that's exactly what our opposition is doing. They are flanking us. And what are we doing? I got my gun.
Make
and I
it
got
right.
my whip. I'm all right.
Right.
I'm taking my cold dead hands. Oh, man, no, we need education. We need
motherfuckers is making memes, bro. They making memes.
But here's the thing.
Organized with billions
Where's
of
the
dollars,
strategy? Where's the
pushing
thought
red flag
behind
laws.
stuff?
Right, and you got memes talking about come and take it. They already took it, cuz. Like,
what'd you say, 1,700, right?
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, come on. And it takes, but you know what's beautiful about this? I was able, and I was just having this conversation with a big social media dude a couple of days ago. And I said to him on the phone, I was like, man, I remember 7, 8, 9 years ago, before I ever thought about, you know, I was an absorber of the content, right? Just nothing about it, just watching it. And I was like, man, I remember when I just used to see you guys like do collabs, like, bam, it was a big deal when so-and-so was on so-and-so video, like they would hype it up. You would be amped to see that collaboration, right? Because that would get people from your side and his side on the same side. Now everybody's getting educated. I'm like, what happened to that? And, you know, he was like, yeah, I think people lost sight of that. And I'm like, you know what, that's cool. But one thing that I want to see is that when we start placing people in situations where they can grow stronger and be stronger, that they don't have to worry about, I'm only important to the 2A community if I have X amount of influence or X amount of followers or X amount of this or X amount of that. Because you know what? I will say this, if it was all about numbers, I have no business on this panel. Absolutely none. If it was all about numbers, there is no way I should have been on NRA TV for 3 seasons. Right. No way Noir should have ever did any work with me. No way. It was all about numbers. And that's why I'm starting to tell people, stop being part. If you want to really save your Second Amendment, stop worried about being cool and start worried about being committed. The moment you do that, you will find yourself in a position of victory. So if people think we're talking out the side of my neck, it's a cool thing for me to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what? We're about to do this weekend and we're going to make this awesome. Let me call it one of the best instructors I know, and I call Ken. And people were like, hey, KD, in my inbox, KD, you know you an instructor, right? Yeah. So why you got another dude?
Because I can't clone myself? What are you talking about?
Mind you, when Ken come down there, I'm debuting the new 300-acre range that I got my hands on, right? Yeah. But all that to say, hey, no, this is how we do it. This man can bring something to you that I might not say. Now I'm gonna be out there running guns too. He can't get all the shine, you know. But we're gonna bring him out there. But we're gonna bring him out there. We gonna chop it up. I invited Aaargo. I invited Maj. I wanted everybody to come because it's a way to show people that, you know what, guys, this new wave of 2A, this new influence that's coming is going to show you how to win on the chessboard. Right. Videos and subs, that's cool. That just means you got people watching. But you know what? You ain't motivating none of them. You just got a bunch of dudes to hit a like button. Hit a share button. You ain't motivating nobody. When you look at the posts we put up, when you go back and you look at the posts and the screen snaps and shares that we do, you got people talking about, I put up one today where a man said, I'm a descendant of one of the horrible incidents that's happened in this country. And I thought it was goosebumps I had when I watched your video, but I realized it was my ancestors screaming with joy. That's motivation. That's right? Legit. When I get messages from, I have started 12 gun clubs around this country. That's motivation. When 12 people can say, I started a gun club. What do you think about my bylaws? Can you send this back to me? Bam. Hey, we went from 6 members to 30 members, KD. Ain't that cool? Yeah, that's cool. What are you doing besides having people say, oh, well, I guess I'll buy the Glock 48L instead of the Glock 43 XL. And Mr. Get in trouble. But I mean,
you just made up all kind of new guns. It's cool.
I know. Hey, everybody make up guns.
So. Okay. Good. We knew what you meant, homie.
All right, I got to jump in here for a second. We are running a little tight on time,
Yeah.
but
I got 5% battery, Cheryl.
oh my gosh. Okay,
I'm
we got to
struggling,
hustle up
homie.
here.
I'm struggling.
So, Kevin, you just talked about that event. Give the date for it, and then I got to cut to Ken in case he cuts out because he's got 5% battery.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the NOC Industry and Train and Learn event is going to be on Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be Friday the 24th from 4 p.m. and we're going to run to Sunday the 26th to 2 p.m.
Fantastic. Ken, tell us about the elite that is going to be carried at Aids and Firearms, the only AIDS, the first gun shop in the country to carry all these.
Everybody stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Perfectly is based off of the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 and the Glocks. By then, my Glocks will be debuted as well. The main reason why I came up with my signature series of guns is I looked around the industry and I realized that there was a lot of entertainment. What I mean by entertainment is that there were guns that just looked good. We all know that looks sell. Looks are the first thing that people see, whether it's clothing, guns, cars, whatever. Your purse, you didn't buy it because it was ugly. I promise you that. So I saw a lot of entertainment. And what bothered me about it, back when I've been doing the testing on coming out with my own pistol for 3 years. And I bought all the products, all the different barrels, all the aftermarket triggers, all the aftermarket slides. And with some companies, I even bought their entire gun just to test it out, and I broke a lot of it. And what I found out was that most manufacturers, they understand that most people that buy their guns are just going to put them in a safe, or at the very most, they're going to shoot 100 to 500 rounds through it. With my particular firearm, I want you to shoot the shit out of it. It was designed to carry. It was designed to protect life. I don't know. That's it. That's what it was designed to do. You don't have to worry about the reliability. Everything that we did with the gun was to increase consistency, and that consistency that you can be that much more lethal. We teach that going to the firearm is the last resort. But if you got to go to that gun, it better be damn good, and you better be damn good. I'm not here to, it would be easier and I think smarter from a business sense to tell somebody, hey, buy my gun, it's going to make you a better shooter, but that's absolutely not true. If you're not a good shooter and you buy my gun, you're still not going to be a good shooter. You can't buy skill. However, for the people out there who currently possess the skill, the intermediate to advanced shooters, this gun will help you exponentially. And that's basically what it is. It's not about entertainment. I want you to shoot the crap out of it. I want you to try to tear it up. But I want you to know, first and foremost, that you can trust your life to it. Your family can trust their life to it. And that's the bottom line. That's it. So
that's awesome. Do you
And I shot the hell out of that gun, and it runs. Well, I didn't shoot the hell out of it, but I shot it.
It just jammed. I don't even know.
boy, yo, shut your boy. Hey,
All right, Mr. Krabs. All right. Plenty Krabby Patties today.
Only thing I'm mad about the Elite is when by the time I got my hands on it, so many other people had shot it. We was closing up shop, so I only got a chance to get it.
True.
That's true. That's true. But no, like it's really
the gun runs.
It's really something I'm proud of, man. I designed it out of necessity, and that was it. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. So like KD came to me. When was I in St. Louis last year?
It was for the no, it was when you came up and did the class. That was around Black Guns Matter was in August, so I think you came up and around.
It was 2 weeks after, like a couple weeks after that, he had a class. After that.
So it was about a month after.
So KD, he comes to me and he's asking me about, he's like, hey Ken, I'm coming out with my gun. You got any pointers for me? And I was 100% honest with him. Hell, I think we sat there and talked about it for an hour. Hey, look, this is what I learned. Don't do this. This is why. Blah blah. And I'll be honest with you, man. I've got my gun, and I'm dropping a Glock maybe by June or something like that.
What Glock are you dropping?
Huh?
What model Glock?
All of them.
Okay.
Okay.
All of them.
All of them. All right.
Just holler at me, homie.
Because my platform is based on the Glock, so we really gonna talk.
Yeah, no.
And you know I'm a Smith dude too, so it was a big decision for me to choose Glock over Smith.
Exactly. So,
right.
All you gotta do is do both. Do both, because everybody needs that kind of love. I'll be honest with you, Cheryl, 100%. I've never seen a gun that actually stood for something like KD's does. And that's just me being 100% honest with you.
That's
and
sweet.
in certain people's eyes, and I can say the same for Maj.
Yeah.
In certain people's eyes, you know, they look at us as competitors, and maybe we are competitors, but I think we all are man enough and humble enough, and we understand vulnerability, because every one of us are in the limelight. And when you're in the limelight like we are, that's 100% vulnerability. So I think that's why it's so much easier for us to just be 100% honest. You know, absolutely, I want people to buy my gun. People are buying my gun, but it doesn't have the meaning that those two dudes have, you know. And then when Aaargo comes out with his, I know it's going to be stupid. So I would invite people. Huh?
I'm sorry. I was going to say, nobody is going to buy more of your guns if you're dissing Kevin or Maj or Aaargo.
No, absolutely not. And what I invite people to do is to shoot all of them and buy all of them is what I'll tell people. But I told KD when we were out at SHOT, he showed me both his guns, and I didn't even look at the gun. Neither one of them. I didn't even look. Yes, Maj, bruh. When he opened that case, and I'm sitting here reading stuff, and it's touching me in a certain place, man. And it ain't because of the color of my skin. It's like, look at this. Like, if this doesn't humble you to dude, that shit is, excuse my French, Cheryl. Look, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And hats off to you, dude. You know, and it's stuff like that. That's what I was talking about earlier. Each one of us mess with each other for our own personal reasons.
Yeah.
And it's because I think what it is that we realize when a man is truly a man, you can look at another man and realize where he's better than you are. It's up to you to decide to go, well, I want to be like that. I need to be around this person so they can show me. But with all of us, it's vice versa. We're all learning something from one another. But that's the same reason why can't nobody really pull us apart, though. That's what it is. We're not friends or associates out of convenience. Like, this is real deal. You know, like, you got to mess with all of us if you're gonna mess with one.
Right.
You know, and it ain't. And to be honest with you, I don't even really think it has a lot to do with the color of the skin. I think it just happens to be like that. You know,
the character of the man that you're dealing with.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, maybe that was initially what brought us together, but hell, it could be two white dudes in there. I don't care. You know, like, if you a real dude trying to do something real, how can you fight that? You know, and that's what I think most people, when they see this, they don't like it, but they don't know how to come about doing it. When you're doing, you know, corporate espionage, there's a rule book for that. There's no rule book for what you see in this video. There's no rule book for that. People haven't seen unity within the Black community or any community like for years, decades. And KD is talking about it. Dude, you open his gun case. Hell, I'm buying this gun. I'm buying everybody's gun, but I'm buying his first. I ain't got a choice. Hope you give me a little discount, homie. I got about 2 of them.
I got you, homie. I got you.
But I mean, I'm
all you big money cats. I'm out here on a teacher's salary.
Dude, look, man, I want to show my son that. Like, I want to, like, son, check this out. And guess what? Next week you're gonna meet him. He's like, you know him, Dad? You know, like that. That's serious, man. Like, we don't have enough of that. And that's what's wrong with I think the country in general.
We lose them?
There's not enough education. They're stripping it.
Oh man, I think finally battery went.
He conked.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I wish he could have finished, because I think it was just 100% truth that he was saying. And I know from conversations I've had with each of you that it is especially meaningful in the Black community for strong Black males to be able to do what you're doing and love each other the way that you do and support each other the way that you do. But it's just good for everybody.
It is, but understand this too. We aren't always received in the Black community the way that you would think we are.
No.
Okay, I'm just going to be honest.
And then you get on a white lady show, and then you get all kind of extra grief.
No, but seriously though, we aren't received. I'm just going to be honest. We aren't received the way we should because of our stance on guns and because of the ignorance. It's the only way that I can describe it as ignorance, okay? The ignorance that's out there behind guns, because I feel like guns, because I feel like this about guns, now I'm running with Team Whitey. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the general conception.
You're down
You know
with
what
the
I mean?
devils.
Right.
Like,
You know what I mean?
like,
So that's what I mean. That like these are the things that need to be broken and dispelled, because they're on both sides. They're not just here. So we're fighting it on both ends. People have no idea. They think we're just fighting it from people who aren't black. No, we're fighting it from people who look like me. Okay. Like I had, you won't see any of this on social media because I refuse to put it on social media. But I always go into groups, and people say, "Oh, you're a teacher. Come talk to these kids." And then they find out I'm a gun advocate, and then they say, "Well, maybe we don't really want you today. Can you come back?" So finally, one guy called me and said, "You know what? I do want you because you're into guns, and my boys in the youth group are so into guns. So what I want to do is I want them to see you, because you don't look like what they're trying to portray." You know what I mean? And I said, I'm with that. I'm there. So I go there. I'm talking to these boys, 12 to 15. Okay, all different walks of life. They're black boys, white boys, whatever, but they all like guns, and they all have a natural curiosity to guns. All right. All these young men, though, are at risk. So now I know that what I say is being scrutinized more than ever, because nothing and no one on this earth remembers and records like a child. Okay, period. All right. So
Well,
I'm
except
talking
women.
to.
We do that a lot too. Except
Yeah,
women.
it's selective though. It's selective with women though. Kids hear it all. You know what I
can
mean?
tell you what Danny did wrong 3 years ago, 2 hours later from now.
Right, but 3 years ago, 2 hours from now, and 1 second prior to, the good thing he did, you forgot. You didn't see because you overlooked it. See, that's what women do. Kids see it all. You know what I mean?
Fell and I didn't hear it. Did it happen?
See, the kid's gonna see it though. And that's what I love. So I'm getting asked real questions from these kids.
Yes.
And these kids have no concept of what life really is about. And that's fine. I don't want to shatter their idea of life. But what I do want to do is I want to educate them and lead them onto a different path so that they can formulate thought and their own decisions. I can't think for them. I will never say that to any child. So whether I'm their teacher or their mentor or a stranger on the street, that this is the right way to go. I'm going to say, this is what happens if you do X, Y, and Z. And this is probably most likely to happen because of it. Because we all know that things don't always turn out the way that we expect. So there has to be a plan and a backup plan. So I'm telling these kids these things and all the things they need to do in order to possess, as I show them and scroll through social media, my guns, and they're just in awe. Like, you own that? I play with that in Fortnite. I've got that in this and that. I know I got it for real. So what do you want to do to get here? You want to stay in school? You want to stay out of trouble? You want to not sell drugs? You know what I mean? You want to do these kind of things? If you do those things, then you are putting yourself in line to be right here where I am. Matter of fact, I'll even come take you to do X, Y, and Z. Show me that you're doing better. Show me that you're serious and you're committed, not about guns, but about yourself, about making yourself the best that you can be. And then we'll talk about it. Amen. And the people that brought me there thought that it was going to go totally different. They had no idea. Only talked about guns when guns were brought up. Okay. My speech was to the kids about becoming a better man and becoming a young man and learning how to be a leader and learning how to follow correctly in order to be a leader. But guns did come up. But you'll never see those things on social media because that's a part of me that I don't want, put out in the public side, because that's private to me and it's personal and it's very real to me. But these are things that happen all the time, all the time. And trust me, within the four of us, there's a solution here somewhere. Okay. If not collectively as one whole package. But how do we get that to, like you said, preaching beyond the choir? How do we get that to the people outside the church walking by? How do we get that to the people across town at the other church? You know what I mean? So where do we go from here?
Absolutely. I love it. All right. We really got to start wrapping up because now my battery's going to die. Kevin, you talk about your guns real quick, and I'm going to end up with Maj because he's going to tell us how we're all going to come back together again later in the year. So Kevin, talk to us about the Truth series firearms.
So when putting out a gun, now it gets lost because of my outreach. I'm a gun instructor. I'm a gun dude. I do like firearms amongst other hobbies in my life, but I do love guns. So when I decided that it was time for me to put my spin out there, my flavor, I've been working on this thing for a couple of years, and was like, all right. So it's a great piece of equipment. It does have the upgrades I want. It's going to function. It's meant to function. It's meant to fight. It's meant to be a gun to save your life. But it's just a gun. How does that fit me? Because something that is your signature line is your signature. It's who you are. And I was like, well, about a year ago, I was like, you know what? Nah, if I'm going to do it, I'm doing it like this. So I decided that I was going to make the first guns to fight gun control. More than just a gun that shoots. It's going to fight gun control because it's going to educate. So I came out with the Truth series. Even before I show the gun, I start off by showing the case. I don't know if the camera's going to do any justice. But this here, when you first open your gun, that's the first thing you see. Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. And you need to understand what that is. I would guesstimate to say roughly about 85, 87% of Americans have no idea what that event is.
I did it until you told me.
See? And you're an educated lady, right? So it goes to show. And that's what I mean by fighting gun control, because now, guess what? As educated as you are on the Second Amendment, I just gave you another tool.
Yes, you did.
Right? So when you pick up the gun, I wanted the case to talk to you when you moved it. Right? So every time you moved it, I wanted to tell you something different. This is going to be a conversation piece all by itself. But you need to understand how I feel about what you're going to encounter. So when you pick up your gun, you're going to get more language. Right? And this is a statement by me. And it basically, well, it says, gun laws are based in hatred and racism. Historical moments like Black Wall Street will expose lies and make non-believers conform to the truth. You're going to have to deal with the truth about what gun control allows at its roots. And then once you get to the bottom of your case, so your gun's here, you pick your gun up, you get to the bottom, I'm going to give you the stats of Black Wall Street. We're going to walk you through what happened, right? Line by line, stat by stat. And we're going to walk you through exactly what happened down there. And then we're going to give you an awesome gun. I need a 2-second intermission. Come here, baby. I know what you want. Give me some kisses.
Hello there.
Look, but you know exactly what she wants because her eyes never lock the camera. Right. She is a glorified celebrity in the making already.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
Night. So that's that.
She just used you, man.
Oh, dude, that's my little
I didn't even know there was a camera there. What?
Right. Her eyes didn't leave the camera the whole time. She was kissing you, looking at the camera, fam. Like, oh my God, you got problems, son. Like,
yeah, oh man. So in that case is meant to educate, and in that case comes this beautiful piece of machinery.
Beautiful.
So this is off the original HK-BP9 platform, and for manufacturing purposes, it is not an HK-BP9. This is called the Truth, and that's what it is. It's the Truth, a gun that aesthetically is going to have what you need, but that's not the important stuff. What do you need with a fighting pistol? And one thing I noticed off the original platform for shooting it for years is that I wanted you to be able to have something that was going to benefit you as a performer with the gun. So we started off by stippling the grip and getting it, not just stippling it, but getting it to the right texture to where it can work for any hand, whether you have sensitive skin, whatever, and it's still going to give you the grip you need. So moist hands, bleeding hands, whatever the case may be. Did some finish work to the mag well here to polish it up, to give you strip areas to get mags out in case you get something that's stuck in there a little bit. So paying attention to the small detail. We also brought the stippling all the way up the back strap, right? That's to give your hand a point of reference when you get that grip. For novice shooters, which I don't expect to be buying this gun, but if you're somebody that does buy it and you let somebody shoot it, that's going to give you another point of reference to keep that limp wristing from occurring. And on top of that, that is going to give you a little bit more friction to help control recoil management. And then offering, instead of welding the grip together, still offering one of the benefits of the original platform, being able to take the back strap off and the swells off to be able to get that contoured feel. So with this gun, when you order it, all your extra panels come stippled to the same grade. So no matter how you swap them out, it will still have some uniformity to it. Under the guard, you have a support hand stipple reference there as well that is aggressive enough to go through gloves, but it doesn't interfere with anything over here with your index finger meeting up to the bottom of the trigger guard. When it comes to the actual European mag release, one thing I hated about this platform is that my thumb would slip off all the time. And so if you can see on the opposite side there's actually some slight contour changing and texturing to the mag release itself. So that stippling on the mag release will actually give you a point of reference to lock and drop your mag. Slide your finger, lock, drop your mag. Slide your
That's
thumb.
That's the original release that was just worked on?
Yeah, it's the original release, yeah.
Okay.
And change it out. Just changed it a little bit and added the stippling grade to it. Another big problem with this platform, I still have kind of callous skin from on my trigger finger from doing this. We upgraded the trigger from the factory to the Lobos Industries trigger to give you a much cleaner break. However, one of the problems was still when you get into this shaved out canal down here, it was just shaped funny. So what would happen is I would get a lot of drag, and I started to callus my finger. So that canal is reshaped now, so you don't have that same drag problem. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but that detail was paid attention to. Up on the slide, obviously we took some meat out the side of the slide, so we wanted to give that back. The meat is taken out. It's reducing the weight, but we made sure that the slide was balanced perfectly where we did not have to mess with your internals. Outside of the trigger, some of the trigger work, the internals are solid, all right? We cleaned them up a little bit for you, but we wanted to leave them there. So we have the weight balanced out just right, including getting the weight from the slide cuts and the coffin cut up top. So what you have here, though, for all the surface area that we removed for guys or gals that like to do press checks, the serrations are doubled in depth. All of them. Every single one machined to the exact same depth, but all doubled. So you have a positive, no matter where you come from, under, over, back, no matter where you come from, you're going to get a positive feel for it. So that's how
the other side. Flip it over. No, flip it over on the other side. Yeah.
All right. So, and there's the truth, obviously. So giving you those serrations. Now, the designer of the gun, well, not the designer, obviously I designed it. But when we were having a conversation about the machinist of the gun, we were having a conversation. And, you know, when I said double the texturing, he was like, really? I was like, yeah, trust me. But it worked out well. Obviously, that doesn't remove any weight from the gun, really. It's minimum. And it worked out well. Going with the cuts, though, but something that he did design. I did not come up with these 3 dots initially. But I asked him, he was like, hey, I really want to add these 3 dots. They just make the gun pop. This is after we had all the mechanics figured out. I was like, okay, they don't hurt the gun and they don't hurt the performance, but what are they for? He was like, they just look cool. I'm like, all right, let me sit on that for a couple of weeks. And so I sat on that for about a week, and I was like, well, when you go to the philosophy of, which is right here, it's kind of hard to see with that red, NOC logo's right there. When you go with that philosophy of no other choice, you know, the philosophy behind no other choice training company is extending God's grace and mercy before you ever place a negative impact on a life. So I sat and I really thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. I was like, I'm cool with them being there, but they got to mean something. So what they mean is the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. That's what
the Holy Trinity.
That's
yep.
awesome.
Because the gun is going to do work, but you need to make sure it's work that has to be done. So it's not something I press on people, but that's why it's there, so they can deal with it. Or not. If that's not your thing, you don't have to acknowledge it, and you keep running your cool gun. And it is
Bro, I think that's awesome. That's just like Trigicon puts a Bible verse on all of their sites. You know what I mean? So.
Yep, having that reference is nothing wrong with it. On here, in this model, we have obviously the threaded silent scope barrel. We went with the aftermarket silent scope barrel. Not only does it slightly improve accuracy, but the biggest thing is to get that standard American thread pit for your cans. So we decided to go with that. And on top, we have a Heine suppressor height sights and then a Vortex Venom. I decided for this model, you can get Venom, you can get the Smith, you can get RMR, Hollow Sun, which takes the same cut. You can get Burris. You can get Leopold, you can get what you want. I just decided to go with the Vortex Venom 6 MOA here. I like a 6 MOA dot. It's better for 0 to 100 yards for that close quarter engagement that you might have. And that is the biggest things about this pistol in particular. Yeah, then the Enforce APL 400 lumen light. I tell guys all the time, if you get into a fight, as long as you're not over in Afghanistan somewhere fighting an enemy, 300 yards away, 400 lumen is going to do you plenty. So we decided to team up. And the beautiful thing about this project, I will say, for Enforce, Vortex, J&L Machining, MLS Customs, the guys that, put as much grit and grind to this gun that I did, all of them knew what the purpose of the gun was, and none of them flinched. So awesome. Vortex gets a lot of credit, and Enforce gets a lot of love for that. Along with Carolina Custom Foam, Condition 1 cases, everybody that was involved knew what the gun was doing, and they couldn't expedite stuff to me fast enough. So That I appreciate, including those triggers. And then I'll get past the next one really, really fast. We have the second case, which has been slightly redone. So the one you see here is not the way it's going to come out. It's going to be even better. This one is talking about the Underground Railroad. All right. So dealing with this one here, what you have is essentially a mocked up cotton field back here. You got the slave catcher chasing the slaves, who then turn and run into the marshlands and the swamp, because that's where they hid out a lot. For obvious, they could eat down there, and it was hard for dogs to track them and things like that. And so when we talk about the underground, and there are 20 birds. These birds have been redone and made better for the case coming out to the public. But there are 20 birds there. There were roughly 100,000 individuals freed via the Underground Railroad. So the 20 birds represent 5,000 freed souls, all going toward the North Star, right? Because that's where they were going, obviously, to Canada and up north. So when you pull your gun out of this case, that there says, I am gun control's worst nightmare because I'm the inconvenient black truth, right? Then here at the bottom, you have the infamous image of the slave collar, all right? And what that quote there says is, I've seen hundreds of escaped slaves, but I never saw one who was willing to go back and be a slave. That's by the late, great Harriet Tubman, who said that. And what I'm trying to educate people on is, I won't even get into the history of what the collar is right now because of time, but the only thing gun control has done now is it doesn't care about the imagery of the slave. It just wants somebody in that collar, right? That's how it was expanded. And when we talk about the Underground Railroad, a lot of people are like, okay, more people know about that. But here's why guns are so important. What people don't know is that the Underground Railroad did not start as a way to free slaves. It absolutely did not. It was started by a gentleman named Moses Dixon, who came to St. Louis and grew an assortment of men, primarily minority men, obviously, grew them from 6 to 47,000 well-armed, well-trained men who, what they did was, they built that system, those connections from American sympathizers and everybody else, to fight the Confederates, to forcefully free the slaves. They built an army to go fight the South. What happened was Civil War broke out. So, well, if y'all gonna fight, I'm gonna step back and let y'all fight. Let y'all, have that. And when you're weak, I'll come in and conquer. What they saw was an opportunity through all that chaos is to go ahead and use that same system to help the slaves escape at the business end of 47,000 trained men, right? So guns were sent from Britain, who obviously had a reason to see people get shot in America, right? So Britain sent over crates and crates of guns. American sympathizers gave up firearms, gave up money and things like that so they can train. They trained, and so as the slaves were coming through that system, a lot of the people like Harriet Tubman were conductors. They were leaders, right? And so they led people to freedom at the business end of a gun. But what goes untold in that story is that it was 47,000 illegally armed men that protected that system as the slaves came through, which is the reason why the reverse Underground Railroad was such a thing, because they realized we can't keep going after these guys because we're meeting a force we're not ready to deal with. So we'll wait till they get comfortable in Canada or New York or Montana, wherever they're settling.
Right here in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, up north, and we'll go kidnap them back. That's another reason why the reverse Underground Railroad came in, because men stood up with illegal arms and was like, if you try to take them back to slavery, I will kill you.
Watch this. Hence the start of the Republican Party right here in Wisconsin. But that's another piece of information that you only know if you're educated. But
which I didn't.
See?
So I love it. This is why this is so great for me. I'm learning a ton, and hopefully our listeners are too.
When we look at incidents like that, is an education about what freedom costs, right? And that's the whole point of it. What did freedom cost? And it cost them everything, and they were willing to give up everything. So yeah, and that man, and here's the thing about Moses Dixon. He went off to start the Daughters of Tabor, and they started schools, they informed people, they educated people, he started universities. This man was about educating his people, right? But he was also not shy about saying he was an American, but he had to fight to be an American. Absolutely. And so that's what people need to start realizing and understanding. It's just not a bunch of brutes with guns. These are people that have visions, and freedom has never been gotten if it did not come at the end of some sort of weapon, period. But the gun that comes in that case is the Truth C. So this is based off the original platform BP9SK. And I wanted to make sure that we had a everyday carry option for people as well. So all of the mechanical changes to the guns are identical, right? All the stippling, all the cuts, the slide work, everything is pretty much identical. This is the Truth C. There is really no difference except this one doesn't come with an RMR cut that is optional to add, and this one is compensated. So I actually put up a video because there were a lot of those internet gun people. They were like, that gun is gonna snap, me too, snap it. I said, really? So I put up a video. This gun's run flatter than 90% of the guns out because the gas ports were done perfect. They were weighted just right. I'm sorry, they were measured just right. So when the gas comes up, yeah, it is a compensated gun, the muzzle stays flat. And to prove that, I put out a 24-second video of the gun being shot, not by me. So you can't say, oh, it's just because I was a good instructor. Nope. I took a novice dude, put the gun in his hand and said, shoot the gun, right? And so you can see this gun run flat because one thing I didn't want people to think is that I'm selling you a cool case and not a piece of machinery that can run. So this is the C, and that's the one that comes with it if you want it, you know, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing I forgot for both pistols. One thing that I noticed for guys that were out, you know, doing more of the advanced drills, one-handed manipulations in particular, is that they would try to do one-handed drills when they couldn't run the gun off of their jeans, which this one, because of the aggressiveness of the texturing, I'm sorry, of the serrations, you can't actually just run this right off the side of your jeans without a problem. Another thing I noticed, though, is they would try to do one-handed manipulations, and they would always crush the barrel, right? And if you crush this thing bad enough, you're out of the fight. Yeah, it's no good anymore. So what we did was we made sure that the beveling up front, that beveling, you can actually see a little scar right there from when I did it to prove it to somebody. That beveling actually allows you to find any hard surface with a corner, and you can run your slide right off of that surface without damaging your barrel. So it gives you a reference point. If you got it down, it snags, and all you have to do is apply pressure, and it's going to run your slide for you. So that's going to help you with any one-handed manipulation. So wanted to make sure we put out quality firearms that were going to give people more than just a cool story in the case, but give you a gun to actually fight gun control and be dependable at the range. So
it only comes in the one color scheme?
Good question. Thank you for asking. So we're doing it in this color scheme and then all black. So you'll be able to get.
So yeah, only the one color scheme.
Yeah, shut up. Nobody else.
That damn red.
I love it. I can't. I'm gonna own both of those. Two of those.
Actually, you know the funny thing is, Cheryl, you actually shot this gun.
I was wondering if that was the one.
The same one. You've actually
like, did I aim?
That's your SK that you used to carry?
No, yeah. This is the one, you know, when you got, look, I'm trying to save costs. Like, here, experiment on mine, right? So I sent mine up. So yeah, this is the exact one that I used to carry, and I sent it up with all the modifications, and yeah, it came back. So yeah.
I love it. All right, Maj Toure, take us home before my battery dies on me. Yeah. Talk to us about the solutionary rifle. How did your connection with Head Down come about? Tell us a little bit about the gun. I don't know if you got one there with you or not, but if you do,
how we did was, first we were already looking for companies. The first thing for me was everybody in the hood had handguns, and I was like, yeah, dudes just wouldn't have rifles, and I was like, yo, the whole thing is you use your handgun to get to your rifle, like, you know what I'm saying, even for, you know, those reasons. So it was like, okay, that's one perception switch there. Then I was trying to get with a company that, you know, matter of fact, you introduced me to Marty Daniel. That price point, yeah, for Daniel Defense, that wasn't gonna happen under a certain amount of money. So Head Down Arms, we reached out to them, we communicated, and I was like, listen, man, we need something practical, we need something quality, and we need something, you know, not too expensive. It wasn't 3 years. These guys have put tremendous thought and time into that. And they, you know, Adam and those guys over there was just like, okay, tell me what you want, what fits. For me, it was more or less about getting outside of that one concept of just the handgun. The other thing was what companies that were actually saying we are in alignment with what you're doing. Like Katie was saying, all of those companies knew exactly what he was making that firearm for. Same thing with Head Down. They were like, and they was down in, they out of Dallas, Georgia, about maybe 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta a lot. My mom actually lives in Atlanta. But
literally right around the corner from my daughter.
Yeah, right. It was like me, I was really just trying to, how can we get people on this as well as that? How can we get people something and put their mind out of one concept into another? and do it in an inexpensive way. They've been hella supportive. I mean, there's not really much to say. I mean, I just want to be with companies that's going to be with the work, that's going to put out quality products, that are going to be behind the mission. You know, and I got something coming with Bursa pretty soon. But really, man, it's just I just want to work with smaller companies that get the point. You know, like, you know, we can sell product, that's cool, but are they going to get behind the mission? So that was really it. Shouts to them over there. I know we a little bit pressed for time, but outside of that, I really want to make sure that everybody is linking up with all of the firearms that they saw. When Aaargos come out, get it. When the truth is out now, they can get that now, I think, right? Katie, they can get that now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they can start pre-order.
They could grab pre-orders now. I remember stilettos and
Shotgun.
Instagram.
Shotguns.
Yeah, she put her pre-order in at SHOT Show.
At SHOT Show.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So really, it's just trying to make sure that there's a collective showing. I didn't know that Aaargo was coming out with like a rifle and a handgun. You know what I'm saying? But
the handgun just happened. Yeah.
Right, handgun just happened. I just want to make sure that everybody is supporting the companies that are supporting the work. Bigger than the actual firearm is the thought process behind it, is the thought process of the companies that get behind the thought process of the work that we're doing. Yeah. Head Down did that, you know, and the companies that, you know, Katie said did that. And to get it at a price point, like, everybody doesn't have $5,000 to drop on a rifle, $3,000 to drop on a rifle. Right. So that was really what it was about for me, and being practical. But it's just AR is a practical platform. I mean, it's not much, you know, mechanically they all pretty much work the same, but socially, fiscally, financially, that's a whole nother different thing. Some companies will say it, but some people will actually get behind it. And then sometimes you'll say to them, hey, this is what we're trying to do. My demographic is around this price point. You know what I mean? Or you say, hey, yeah, our organization is, we're gonna talk, and we're gonna communicate about marijuana. We're gonna talk about decriminalization. We're gonna talk about these things and this. Yeah, I don't know. You know, that's still in the 4473. So having a company that being clear about what my goal was for our company, and them to still go through with it, you know, it was a big thing to me. And I think it's very important that when companies make those judgment calls, because that's what it is, that's the line in the sand, that's the line that they're choosing to be on. I think it's very important for us to not only support Head Down Arms and the solutionary rifle, but all that, to perfect the Salute, you know what I'm saying, the truth. Get with those companies. That's not an accident. This isn't like a oops, you know, it's not like we didn't know you guys were trying to actually inform urban America. No, they knew, they were aware, they were supportive, and they got in league with it, you know. So that's really what it's about for me, you know, to make sure that everybody was not just handgun, but you got to go handgun rifle. I want somebody from urban America to come out with a shotgun next. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a thing, because a lot of times we just don't think about that. So, you know, that was really our goal. We got it accomplished, and everybody needs to go get all of these firearms. You can get the only spot in America that you can get all of these firearms right now is AZ Firearms, azfirearms.com. And y'all should be over there. Y'all should be following them on social media. You should be following Aaargo J on social media. You should be interacting. You should be asking questions. You should be following Kevin Dixie. You should be following Perfectus Group. You should be following and supporting these men in their work. And that's about it.
As long as following Black Guns Matter, if you guys don't know or aren't aware, you definitely need to link up with this group. It is not about strictly being Black. You don't have to be Black to be in support of Black Guns Matter. All right, don't let the name fool you. Go dig deeper. Do your due diligence before you make any decisions in life, please.
I love it. That's fantastic. And then tell us what you've got going on that's going to bring us all back together.
The first annual BG Black Guns Matter annual meetings. It's going to be at AZ Firearms in November. We're just going to have everybody out to come, you know, learn, share perspective. Before that though, Katie, you joining St. Louis?
Aiming for the truth. I think the next one I got is in Chicago.
No.
But I will be doing one here though.
You'll be at my place in.
all right, cool. That's
May. Yeah, but May or something. May, yeah.
May. So it's an M month. I don't know. Right. We'll figure it out.
If you go to that one, you need to come to ours. If you go to ours and you don't come to that one, we're gonna laugh at you. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the BGM annual meetings, that's going to be the first one. If you sponsors, you bigger companies, you want to get behind it, we got packages and all of that to make sure that this event, we fly everybody out in style. We're going to try to link up with the Arizona State Rifle and Pistol Association. They got a huge range over there. I'm a member. And then everybody can shoot all of the guns. And, you know, that's it.
I love it. That's fantastic. Thank you all so much. It was such a long interview, but I can't imagine how we could have shortened it because I wouldn't have wanted to miss a minute. I just really appreciate you spending so much time with us. Let's just go around the horn real quick. Tell folks how they can follow you, ask you questions about the work you're doing, bring you out for your special individual events you're doing. And I'll start with Aaargo because we mentioned the name of your movie, but I don't think we've told folks yet how they can, you know, follow. You've got a hashtag out there, how they can.
Right, definitely. Well, definitely about the documentary. It's Black Ops. Make sure you follow that up with the documentary. You can find the page on Facebook and on Instagram as well. There is a GoFundMe link that is just /Black Ops Doc. So www.gofundme.com/Black Ops Doc. That's that. The website is down for now because it's under construction. Got to do bigger and better things. And then to find myself, you can find me at Aaargo J. That's 3 A's, AAARGOJAY, on all social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and also on YouTube. I am coming back out since I found out that I have beef on social media. So yeah, that should be fun. You guys should like my response to this beef. But like, I don't do beef. I'm too grown. Anyway, so yeah, my son doesn't even do beef. He's 6. It's stupid. But anyway, so right. So I am making a resurgence on social media. Like I said, I took a break. But if you ever have a question that you want to ask me or need to contact me, I do respond on every platform as long as I see it. So if I see it, I'll respond to it. So I'm not one of those guys who doesn't respond. I try to respond to everything that everybody sends me, which is probably a problem, but I do respond to everything. So.
And this is a crowd-funded video.
Oh, the movie, the documentary is definitely, we want it to be crowd-funded. That's been our hardest hurdle to overcome, is the funding for the video, or the documentary rather. But crowdfunding does help. So that's why we would appreciate if you definitely check the GoFundMe and make sure that, you know, you support by sharing whatever you can with us. There's no amount that's too little that won't be accepted or appreciated. So
thank you for that. And I'll dive in here with Ken, who had to leave us because his phone died. And you can go to his website, provectusgroup.org. That's PROVECTUS group.org for everything. There's a gorgeous picture of the elite right there on the page right there. And then Kevin, how do folks follow you, find you, bring you out?
Well, first I want to say not only thank you to you, Cheryl, but thank you to Maj, Aaargo, and even Ken for being an example of what this country looks like and what we should be doing. So I would be remiss if I didn't say those things. Aaargo, real talk, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're putting out. Maj, you know, I touched that rifle. I ain't got a chance to shoot it yet, but we're going to change that. But the
hey,
rifle,
did he send you the T&E information?
No, I didn't get that. Yeah, get that to me. I want to bring it down for the May event when everybody down here, we can get you 30, 40 reviews at one time. And Ken put out a masterful firearm as well. And shout out to Toure for putting out the Advocate. So it's a lot of good things going on. I'll be remiss if I didn't say those things about all these great gentlemen. That being said, as far as finding me, if you want to get me for training, email training@nootherchoice.net. That's training@nootherchoice.net. If you are interested in bringing Aiming for the Truth to your town, which is very easy, just email aimingforthetruth@gmail.com. That's aimingforthetruth@gmail.com, all spelled out. And we can coordinate with you about how to get that done. I am happy to say that here in the next couple of months, Aiming for the Truth is actually converting over to an official nonprofit. So we'll have all that documentation placed, and that is thanks to the gun community. So as much as I give people grief, the gun community paid for that. You know, and that's that's a big thanks, and I'm humbled by that. The gentlemen that did that are awesome. So that's going to be coming out. If you want to make a donation, which we definitely need donations, just go to GoFundMe/Aiming for the Truth. You can make a donation that way. You can also become a Patreon. That's Patreon/NOC Firearms. You become a Patreon that way. Obviously, if you want to pre-order the truth, if you want to pre-order it, well, what I'm calling super pre-order, the pre-order link comes up at the end of the month. If you want to super pre-order it, all you have to do is email NOCCCW. That's NOCCCW@gmail.com, and title your in the subject line, just put "I want the truth." That's all you got to do, and we'll take it from there. So after you come on, I'm sorry, 2-second intermission. Good night, man. Good night. After you do that, all you have to do is.
Hey, does he got my answer? Don't let him get away. He still never answered my question.
Probably why he ran when he saw you on the screen. Like, oh, let me go.
Sorry, the teacher in me will not let a kid go without teaching him something. Sorry.
So what we have, if you want to, so that's how you do the GoFundMe. You can become a Patreon. Oh, social media. NOC Firearms Training on all your major social media platforms. You can also look up Kevin Dixie. That's about it. Reach out, talk. As far as communicating, look, I have a rule, adults only. So if I'm going to respond to you, be an adult. If you're not an adult, you will not get a response from me. I know I speak for me and everybody else on this panel. Look, I got a country I'm trying to save. I do not have time for foolishness. So you want to have an adult conversation, we can potentially have that. I am not spending 30 minutes in any DM with any other grown man. Not going to happen. But if you have a point you want to make and you would like it to be addressed, I will give you the time to do that. But I'm not dealing with foolishness, whether it's publicly or in DMs. Not going to happen. Come to me with adult conversation. Come to me with facts, and come to me with concerns. We can talk as adults. Other than that, reach out. Oh, heck, I'll even say this. If you want to, make a phone call directly about any of those things, all you got to do is call 314-699-4466. Leave a voicemail if I don't answer. We are a very personable company, but once again, you can get blocked on that too. So just be an adult when you call.
Say the number again.
Huh?
Say the number again. Say it slower.
314-699-4466.
Very good. All right.
Yeah,
and Maj.
Can't get at me. Don't try to find me. Leave me alone. No, GoFundMe.com.
Real spit.
Right, / Black Guns Matter for the GoFundMe. Email me, majtoure@gmail.com. Maj Toure on social media. No, on some serious though, if you're going through something, you want to talk, you want to chop it up, shoot me a number, I'll call you. I'm going to refer you to, people in your city, depending on where you at. I think that's more important. You can link up with people that you can have a consistent base with. But I'm definitely the plug, you know what I'm saying? I'll link you with everybody. So, you know what I'm saying, in your town. If I don't know who they is, I'll try to find who they is and who can help you the best. But we support, again, the support is GoFundMe.com / Black Guns Matter. And, if you really want some support, go to azfirearms.com. You can probably get me there. If you don't catch me anywhere else, go on that website. I might be over there.
Thank you very much for that. And thank you all so much for everything you're doing. And Kevin as well, who isn't with us on the screen anymore. But really, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing for us to be able to see your friendships and see how you support each other and work together. And also the products that you're bringing out. I mean, these are quality things that come from a place of experience. It's not just, you hired somebody else to kind of like gives you something that, box tops, send in the box tops. No, this is good quality stuff. And the last thing I want to say, because I actually did have a thing come up saying my my battery is going to die, that it's important to other people to be sure that there's division. Just look at the country. Just look at the news. Just look at everything. It's all about division. And we have just all chosen to say, no, we're not going to play the game. We're going to, enjoy who we enjoy, love who we love, and bring together who we bring together. And that right there is going to change this country, and it's going to change this world. And you all encourage me every day with that. So thank you so much. Keep up the great work, and we will talk with you all soon.
I'm going to
see you all later.
Take care.
Ooh, I like it. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Peace.